Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my goodness, it's good to see you. I almost wasn't on tonight. I was caught so unprepared a while ago because I don't know what happened. I sat here and was ready to come on to greet you all, and as soon as I was ready to say hello, I just saw the internet went off. But I am back on. I am back on, everybody, and it is good to see you all. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful evening. This is Sunday, everybody. Did you have a great Sunday? How was it for you? Did you go into the garden? Was it restful for you today? Did you get any sleep? Mm. Well, I surely I got into the garden a little bit, a little bit. I was weeding my yams. I have some yams there and watering my little baby cassava plants. Yes, and did a lot of praying as well. Yes, yes, yes. Taroni, Judy. I had to call Judy. Judy, I know Judy would have been on. Judy, guess what? My internet was off. Let me tell you, you think these people easy? They're not easy, they're not easy. And we are not easy. Come on, Barbados. Come on, loyal opposition. Come on. We're not easy either. We don't give up. We've got that bossa spirit, right? We've got that bossa spirit and we are fighting all the way. We're educating. This is the Marcia Week Show. On the Marcia Week Show, what do? Come on, say it with me. We educate, we agitate, we motivate, we mobilize Africa and its diaspora. Yeah, that's what we do right here. Hi, Mavis. Bajan intellectual, Sir Alfred, all the way from Brooklyn, New York City. Oh my goodness, guys, are we sharing? Are we sharing? Oh, I love when Kamar says it's happy Sunday to all loyal opposition leaders. That's what we are. You know, that's the thing about what I love about this show, Kamar, is that we will come on the show and there's a problem and everybody comes together and we fix it. We've had so many marches. We're actually tallying how many marches we've had because we have a little discrepancy on that, but we're working on that. But I mean, we've had more than 14 marches for the entire year, believe it or not. We've had our roadside parliaments. We've had the solemn walks. Yes, there's so many things that we were able to accomplish in this entire year together. The humanitarian causes, lots of families that we have helped to take care of. Yes, Oswald Newton. Oh my goodness, all the way from St. John. All the way from St. John. I'm just a parish over from you, okay? But all the humanitarian causes that we were able to take on. And I'm holding in my hand the Marcia Weeks cup. This is our mug. Yes, this is our mug right here. And you know that when you purchase a mug, right, a donation of $50, and that goes towards little Amaya. The proceeds of it goes towards little Amaya, 8 years old, who needs a liver transplant. And we're seeing there's some progress that's happening for her. We had a businessman that called us and said, listen, we've made a decision. We're going to help little Amaya. We've had, people are calling. My neighbor, I told you yesterday, came and purchased a cup. And you might say, $50, what's that going to do? No, it adds up. What are you talking about? Even if it's $1, it adds up. And there's the idea of us trying to get, little donation centers happening at the supermarkets and so on. And that is in the works. We're working on that. And that's what we are. We're solutions oriented on this show because it's not just educating. This is not your brass tacks. Okay. We don't just come and we're educating and we're grumbling and we're complaining. No. We had a problem with the cybercrime bill. And what did we do? We marched our way to Washington, y'all. We were in Washington to complain on this government and to let them know, let the world know what they were planning to do with the cybercrime bill, and how they're trying to muzzle people in Barbados. That's what we do. And that's why I love this group of people. On Christmas morning, what were we? We were out there along with Dale Rowe. We supported Dale Rowe, and we were right there on the streets Christmas morning, right there giving out, distributing beautiful gifts that you donated. You donated. You've helped to feed so many families over the years, and we don't say everything. You have donated fridges, refrigerators, and stoves, and beds, and people, they call and you've answered, and that is the Bajan spirit, and I just want to celebrate that, and let me tell you, so when I come on here, Alexi Williams, yes, Alex, it's good to see you. Matthew Brown, it's good to see you, because you all contribute, you all help to put it together. There are people who come and they, like Carol Ann, and she comes and she CG, and she does the placards once we're ready to march. CG goes and she's so talented. CG gets the placards done. Yes, and I mean, oh my goodness, can you imagine? Can you imagine? And last night, did you all enjoy last night's show, Loyal Daughter 66? Again, I'm going to big her up again, because what you do, madam, it is so important. We had a show on education on this platform, and we were looking at what was happening to a lot of our school leavers, that a lot of them are not able to read. We discussed that on the show, and guess what? An entire program that was run for a whole term happened right here, and called Elevated, and was named by a 20-year-old viewer who was watching, a US student. That is what we do here on the Marcia Week Show. And this program, we're getting ready to put this in Nelson Street and Wellington Street. That is what we do here. That is the true Bajan spirit. It is much more than talk. This is way more than talk, you all. We're not here to get educated. Huh? No, listen, these are some of the things. Look at us. Look at us right there in Washington, people. That is Bajan. That's what's Bajan, guys. That's the Bajan spirit. We see something and we get up and we do something. And tonight you're going to meet a wonderful, wonderful Bajan woman, Paula-Ann Moore. I keep saying Porter because in Jamaica there's a Paula-Ann Porter, so I have to think before I say it. But she is a Paula-Ann Moore. And when you meet her, guys, this woman is full of that Bossa spirit. And she is a parent activist. And you would have seen her on Facebook. I mean, if you're on Facebook, I'm sure you're going to see her on Instagram. She's in our newspaper all the time, standing up on behalf of parents and children. And she's going to join us tonight. She's another action lady, an action lady. An action lady, Maxine McCLEAN, is going to be with us. Yes, man. Yes, man. The Nanny Gregs, the Bossas. And we have none other than Mr. GLYNE Murray. Mr. GLYNE Murray is only 18, 18 years old. Mr. GLYNE Murray will be on here tonight, man, with that Bossa spirit, because we are the people who rise up and we get it done. That is the Bajan spirit, and that's what I love. I love that about us. We said we're going to join the toy drive, and people were calling me, even Christmas Eve, when they're calling me, they're going to go down to Mr. Franklin to drop off the toys. And listen, I just want to say to you all, you have done an amazing job this year. An amazing job. An amazing job. And the show last night, wasn't that excellent? We're going to come back and talk about that. Yes, and they had to take it down. But let me tell you, you don't mind. They can't stand the power. There was so much power, and it's not from my Christmas tree lights. Listen, the power was so strong. As I was coming off, the internet went on. 1 minute before I clicked the live button, the internet went off because we're just so powerful, you know. But folks, as I play the national anthem of Barbados, this is a song, you see. This is the clarion call. It's a national anthem, and that's what we stand up to. That's what we fight under. Yes, that's what really, really, really brings us all together. This national anthem. So I want us to stand at attention wherever you are. If you're driving, I know you can't, but if you're cooking in the kitchen, you can put down the spoon a little bit. All right. All right. So let's stand to the playing of the national anthem. With expectations great. Listen, man, we are writing our names on a history's page. And, you know, the thing about it is that there are people who say, you know what, they're a political party or they're political. We don't need to be political to write our names on history's page. We have been doing that all year. The number of children that we have helped in schools, and we're only saying that because we come to the end of the year. So many of it I don't come to you with. I don't, because you guys there are key people that I can call, and you would provide computers, what you call these now, the tablets at school. You know, is it school shoes, socks, games clothes, game shoes? That's what you have done. You have done this over 2024. I am so amazed at everybody. I'm amazed at us. And we were able to do this without any political party. Oh my goodness. We did not go and run and ask any MP to do anything. Did you all realize that? Hold a minute. Listen. Yes, Kamar, I was carrying my own key. And I'm going to use that friend carrying our own key. Come on, we can carry our own key on here. Remember, I told us we are the opposition, all 280,000 of us. We are the voice of the opposition. And we have accomplished so much. So much. We had our own international lawyer that we did not pay a cent to. While we're told it's alleged that the government paid over 200,000 US dollars to that lawyer. That's what we our research is alleging that over $200,000. And when they saw how great we did, they said that we were getting money from Trump. They did not realize the power of the Bajan people. And I am, oh Lord, you can tell, I'm in the power tonight. I'm in the power tonight, guys, because I feel the power of the people. The voice of the people is the voice of God. And we are speaking loud and clear in this country. And we stood up and we spoke up against these different bills, and lots of these things, they had to put them aside. They had to go back to the drawing board with them. Oh my gosh. Let me tell you, and this excellent work, Nina, you know what I love about it, Nina? Anybody can guess what I love about this excellent work? It's that it's not one person. So they could try and they could do as all they want to do with me. They think, as somebody said to me today, we were laughing today. Somebody said, they think that if they, I heard they have plans for me. Did you all hear that? They said, oh, the people, there's some people in government said, don't mind them. We soon deal with her. They said they got me to deal with. Listen, what they don't realize, guys, is that once they touching me, it's not going to do anything, because it's not about me. They can't listen. They want, I call it the Clement Payne syndrome. They want to do the Clement Payne thing. The only thing is that, remember, Clement Payne had visited from Trinidad, you know. That's the only thing that they keep forgetting. They don't forget this is a Jamaican declared she's a Bajan with a Bajan passport and Bajan over 20-something years. That's the difference. So tell them, come along. You can't come and pain me. And the people will not have it. The people will not have it. Because you can't, there's none of you. You could say, oh, you can't tell me I'm not Bajan. Give me a break. Give me a break. Do it all what you want to do. You understand? So tell them, go ahead and do what you want to do, but it's not going to stop the show. We have replicated ourselves. Did you see how many persons were on here last night? Did you see them? Do you see the connection that we have all the way to Trinidad, Bahamas, Guyana, Jamaica? We didn't have all of those countries on. We only had Trinidad on last night. Do you see the connection that we already have, guys? Do you recognize that is the power of what was happening, the power that was coming through here, and they saw the unity? They reported that show. This is why I say to everybody, when you're on, right now only 302 of you on, you have to like, you have to share, you have to comment, you have to say how you like the show, and what the algorithm will respond to that. Because all they have to do is to get some idle people who do not carry the Bajan spirit, who carry the Massa spirit, to come and sit down at this on the show, and to decide they are going to do it over and over and over and over and over and over, and say they dislike the show, they write to YouTube. to say they dislike the show. And the more they do that, then YouTube responds. Because I have not gotten any email from YouTube to say that what community guidelines I have violated. Those guys didn't do anything that the others didn't do. One time, a little word, one word flew out of their mouth. But I've had shows up to last week when the doctors were on and they were using. I had to keep stopping them, and nothing happened. Thank you, Judy. Thank you, Judy, for liking and sharing. All of us, we've got to like and share. Everybody, please take a moment and do that. We must fight back. If you're on Facebook, please like and share on Facebook. Sometimes we forget about Facebook. Facebook, like and share. Yeah? So they come on here and they do that. And they discredit the show and the algorithm responds. And if they say it's hate speech, then they're going to take your show down. This is what happened to the big Candace Owens. Candace Owens, her show was taken down from YouTube. Why? And she explained very well what happened. The people wrote to YouTube. We have to fight back. I need everybody who is watching. I know sometimes you don't want to like because you're afraid of the government. Some of you, you're so afraid of the government, you don't even want to kick the thumbs up. But look, we've been here all this time. What have they done? Yes, they threatened that they're going to do something to me. They're going to come and pain me. But as I tell them all the time, listen, man, listen, I ain't no Clement Payne. And this girl here will go down fighting with a whole lot of Bajans, other Bajans, because they want to tell me I'm foreigner. You must be mad. Huh? We fight. Yes? Correct. It is correct. It is what they're programmed to do. And that's why we have to like. Have you liked, Sean? Good night, Sean. We need you to like. It's us. We fight together. We win together. We won. I consider us winning in Washington. When the human rights lawyers are going to say, listen, to the Barbados government, we are recommending that you change sections 19 and 20. In fact, they say to them, we will come in and help you to change it. The citizens have won. And somebody is upset about that when the citizens win. When we are not touting politics. We don't have any political party that we are lining up behind. We went there as citizens. The citizens of Barbados accomplishing great things. But then you have some citizens who are lining up behind colors. Like it's sports day, causing our ancestors to be so ashamed of us. And a powerful show like last night, such a powerful show like last night, for it to be taken down from YouTube. But I tell you, they don't know. We got a little secret. We had that. We got that show. All you wicked people out there know that we got the show. We got the show. You don't worry about it. You're going to see it. It's going to come out. We have that show. We do. Yes. So, folks, and all of this that we have accomplished, all that we have accomplished. There's a US student who wrote me before Mr. Murray come on. I am just so thrilled tonight. All of us have accomplished this. Fred Corbin, the Lumumba, Kemar Stewart, Caswell Franklin, all of the panelists on this show, along with Winston Clarke. Did you remember even with the homeless man that was killed? You know, the campaign that Winston led. Do you understand the power of the citizens? Oh Lord, let me tell you. Oh goodness. Oh goodness. Let me just read what this UH student wrote me. This UH student wrote me. He said, "We did well." Right? We did well, he said. "I just want to say, you and the team did great this year." This young man is 20 years old, looking on. "The movement took a lot of wins this year. Loyal opposition, wherever you are, you're in your bed, bow. Take a bow. Take a bow. If you're driving, don't bow. Okay? But anywhere else you are, take a bow. Mr. Murray, you're in the green room there, take a bow. Let me bring Mr. Murray in here while I big up the people of Barbados that they claim is we are so passive. Passive what? Look at this year. Look at this year. He says, this is a 20-year-old US student wrote me. "I just want to say to you and the team," he says, Mr. Murray, "we did great this year," and it's not your friend Timon. "The movement took a lot of wins this year." He says the cybercrime bill pushback. He said the charity work that was done and still being done, right? Stopping the people from destroying Joe's River. Do you realize all of that sees, no? Do you realize what's happening down there at Joe's River? Look at the situation with St. Lucie water. I never see a miracle happen so fast. The little boy went to, I call him little boy. I can't afford to call him little boy. I miss Auntie Marcia. The little boy, I'm talking about T-Man, 20 years old, went to Washington and talk about the dirty water that the people in St. Lucie were drinking, Mr. Murray. And let me tell you, before he came back to Barbados, the water was made clean. Praise the Lord. Mr. Murray, good evening. How are you doing?
Good evening. I'm doing very well, and I can see that you're in fine spirit.
Yes.
Good, good. You deserve it. You earned that right. Um, I don't think the Marcia Shaw, the loyal opposition, has anything to prove to anybody now. It has already proven itself, particularly to the government. Some of the few people in government who still talk to me say it's probably one of the biggest embarrassments there's ever had. Because having it is already to push them back in Barbados, but to do it internationally, they never expected that, and they haven't quite overcome it yet. And that some of their colleagues in the Caribbean poked fun at them and derided them. How could you let it happen? So therefore, anything you feel after that are repercussions of their trying to regain, rather than trying to regain the confidence of the people. They keep pushing and pushing and pushing back. So keep pressing on.
We have to, Mr. Murray. And would you believe that even our Caribbean brothers and sisters, 7 different Caribbean countries, we haven't read it yet, but we're going to read that letter that was written by an organization in Jamaica, and 7 Caribbean countries signed off to it and sent it to the, what do you call it? It's not the chairman of CARICOM, but it is the General
Secretary General of CARICOM.
The secretary, thank you, Mr. Murray.
Right.
The Secretary General of the CARICOM has received a letter just before Christmas. And I know it got caught up in the Christmas thing, but we're going to put it up there again. A letter.
That sounds like a drone. You know, there's so many drones in the world, you have to be careful.
Well, you know what? They must be spying on me. But listen. A letter was sent to CARICOM and was signed by 7 different organizations from 22 organizations, from 7 Caribbean CARICOM states. That's what this movement. And you know, Mr. Murray, I'm talking about it. The reason I'm talking about it, because I want Barbadians to stop defining themselves as passive. You know.
Yeah, I've never been convinced that they are passive. I think they're very contemplative. They think a lot before they act, and
Mm-hmm.
they're most dangerous when they're quiet, because of the quiet because of when they're quiet they're contemplating. It's better to have
Yes.
them shouting at you and keep. But when they're quiet, be careful. They're even more than the silent majority. They're the silent devastators at the polls when the time comes. But I want to talk about that letter from the CARICOM countries. I think one of the things that the Barbados public has been robbed of to see the full impact of what happened at that mission to Washington is the fact that until I think Abdullah from Trinidad had said that a similar attempt was made in Trinidad, I think in Guyana, our news media never gave us any indication from what I can recall that this was happening to. So we could, it was as though we were alone doing it by ourselves. It took them to understand that even though we led the movement, they only did it within their own boundaries, but we took it internationally. And once you get it international with social media, the world knows it. You can't hide. And I'd like to know what has been said to the Prime Minister or some other or international representatives when they go abroad as to how if this thing is brought up, how do they react to it? Because it must be brought up. It's too much in the public domain, and we have to keep doing it more and more. We have a lot more work to do, so that's what I want to say.
Yeah, it's a lot more, a lot more. We can't sit down on our laurels. We have to
Yeah,
get going.
yeah,
Yes, at the end of this month, we are ready with our first roadside parliament, dealing with the same cybercrime bill and also the new constitution, breaking it
yeah.
down for Barbadians. That is what we are going to do. But Mr. Murray, you have some more pressing things, and these are some of
Yeah.
the things that they thought we were going to forget about. You know, it's one of those things. It's while we sleep and we party and we eat our ham and so on. And I know you were partying too, and I know you eat your ham, but
Of
you
course.
were
Now, only
researching.
my favorite delicacy at Christmas, sweet bread and ham.
You serious? I don't think I had that
Try,
combination.
try, try it. I tried it as recently as this morning at breakfast. Sweet bread and ham, great combination.
Oh my Lord, I have to
Great
try
stuff.
that.
To try that.
The poor ham is soon to be done. We have somebody here that they take it off in chunks.
Right. I saw you had some heavy chunks last night too, so you were doing your part. But
Yes,
on the more serious
go right
note,
ahead.
the, yeah, I'm supposed to be talking about governance. And before, as I like to do, I'd like to just explain and define what is meant by governance,
Yes,
so that people don't get wrapped up in these fancy jargons and buzzwords and think they know it, but they're not sure. Governance really is the opposite end of government. Government is quantitative. What a government does, what programs, what policies, what laws, that is what a government does. Governance, GOVERANACE, is how it is done. It's qualitative.
indeed.
They involve the people where the laws follow, where the process was it properly done. So it's governance is what you do. Governance is how you do it.
Yeah,
And growing up, we used to talk simply about before governance became fashionable internationally. I think imposed by these Western countries who want to upgrade everything and give you their jargon. We stopped. This is good government or bad government. Was something good done well or done
yes.
poorly? And that's it. Governance really is how was it good or was it bad? Or was it poor or not? And I
Hmm.
would like to say that in having followed politics since 1951, 73 years, I've never seen a government perform with so many mistakes yet in my entire
Mm.
life. They've
And
done more in
how
six
long you have you been? Because you were the minister in state in
in
the
Prime Minister's office for
prime
nine for
minister's
nine
office. And how
for
long?
9 years.
How many?
9 years,
9 years.
2 terms, just about 2 terms.
And you have never seen a government
Nah,
made this.
nothing like. I mean, we made our mistakes and did some things wrong too. We are right, but no, this consistent bumbling and stumbling and fumbling and tumbling is unprecedented. Um, I sometimes wonder if they feel that they have so many numbers twice 30, love twice that they're impregnable and that nothing they can shake off anything because of the sheer force of numbers, but it's something known in politics as political capital, social
Mm-hmm.
capital, where the goodwill of the people and how you treat them, how they treat you, that they have to form their own attitude as to what they do for you at the post next time, not just on your manifesto. So they've been busy wasting political capital on these mistakes, which could not have, which could have avoided. Even what happened, I think, with what happened with the football should never happen.
Yes.
Not properly thought through, not properly thought through. But I think they feel that in the 1950s there was a chemical developed called Teflon. I don't know if you ever heard of Teflon.
Yes.
Teflon, right, used to apply to cooking utensils, especially frying pans, and it would stop the food from sticking to the pan. So so maybe they think that this is a Teflon government, or the prime minister, a Teflon prime minister. They used to call Ronald Reagan the Teflon president because controversies and scandals, they never stuck to him. So maybe they think that there's a new version of a Teflon government, and nothing could shake them up or get them wrong. But they're wrong. I want to look at for example, I am told now that I know some people who've been to get their driver's license renewed. One person I know, they went to the Pine, and after an hour and a half left. Somebody I know went to St. James yesterday at 11:15 and left at 5:10. Still did not get renewed because two things. The second person had paid at shore pay, so they went and sat for 4 hours. Only when they got to the cashier to be told, we can't process it for you because it will take you pay at shore pay. It will take 5 days to get into our system.
Wow.
That similar thing is happening. I understand it's happening with the people who license the vehicles. There was a arrangement where the insurance companies were sending BRA names and details of who licensed, but BRA did not have the equipment to cope with that, so they were not passing on the material. So that's why you're not seeing any more decals now on license. That has fallen through. I mean, that's bungling and stumbling. That's unbelievable for a country that once prided itself, was highly regarded for the quality of its administration. This is a severe embarrassment. But I also want to talk about apart from driver's licenses. You were talking about the cybercrime bill, but there's something happening that I need to talk about tonight. You will recall some months ago there was a proposal that the postman would go around the country and collect information from householders for the post office.
Yes.
And the Unity Workers Union, led by Caswell Friday, and the post person objected to it because it was not their line of duty. It was not on their terms of reference. So that was pulled back. Another stumbling block again was pulled back. Secondly, then now they've come back. And you will have seen the ad. You will have seen the ad in the paper. You will see the on the radio, on TV about. Let me read it for you. It says,
actually, I think we have it. Dave can put it up, right?
Yes, bring it up for
the
me.
BBID, yeah.
Yeah, the one with the BPS.
Yeah. So continue, Mr. Murray. Keep
going. And they've sent out this notice now in an ad. And what they're doing is that they have rather than the postman coming to do it by our postal worker, they've attached the postal worker to somebody from the Electoral and Boundaries Commission. Take note of that. Electoral and Boundaries Commission. Obviously, my speculation is that the postmen are some of the most highly regarded and trusted public workers in Barbados. They are. Okay, so they seem to have knowing that the postmen have a high level of credibility. Right? They have attached the staff from the Electoral Boundaries Commission to the postal workers to get the buy-in from the public to give them the information they want. All right, and here's what it says. There's what the ad says. So I think this is the ad you're playing there.
Yes.
I think Dave.
Want us to play it?
Play it so they can refresh the public's mind.
Yeah, just play it. Thank you so much. Thanks, Dave.
Hello, Barbados. We have some exciting news to share with you. The Barbados postal code system will be updated to make deliveries more efficient than ever before. This update introduces the new Barbados Building Identifier, or BBID, which seamlessly integrates with the existing postal codes to improve the accuracy of addresses. Created by the Lands and Surveys Department, the BBID is an award-winning location solution with a unique 6-character code. It begins with the first letter of the parish, similar to vehicle license plates, and identifies any building or structure in Barbados with precision. The BBID is now a crucial part of our addressing system, used to generate an updated postal code that meets international standards. The parish identifier is dropped, and the other characters are added to the end of the postal code to derive the updated postal code. What does this mean for you? Emergency services like ambulance, fire, and police services, as well as businesses that deliver people, packages, and food, will be able to identify and get directions to buildings easily and accurately. To ensure everyone gets their BBID and updated postal code, postal workers and electoral department staff will visit your home. Your cooperation is requested, particularly with the securing of animals during the officer's visit. They will identify the registrants living there, locate your house on the map, verify the address, and provide you with your BBID and updated postal code. Don't forget to use your updated postal code whenever you share your address. You can also get your BBID from our web app at bbid.gov.bb. We're excited to bring this new system to you, making Barbados even more efficient and connected. Thank you for your cooperation. For more information, visit gisbarbados.gov.bb.
Well, very well presented. Very well. You know what you have. There was a time when that information would have been presented by a member of the Government Information Service that came
Yes.
into being in 1958. Once a time. Now they're using professionals from the private sector with to jazz it, to make it more exciting, as though those people have credibility, they're influencers, etc., all over government. So they're using those voices to try to persuade the people, well, that this is a thing to do, make it more acceptable or whatnot. But that is taxpayers' money spent, which would have been paid for by a government information, or we still have government information officers who are doing the work.
Mr. Murray, I have to stop you. Did you see the you see the Trinity said to tell the Bajans to let go the dog?
No. Yeah. So apart from that very dramatic presentation, I mean, it's well done. Technically,
Yes.
this is what I got in the mail. It says, exciting news. There is a new and modern addressing standards for Barbados. This came in the Postal Service last weekend. The Lands and Service Department has developed the Barbados Building Code. They said identifier. They said it was an award winning. I don't care what they do, but notice they tell who won the award, what was
Right.
about, what award, all the jazz to persuade you, all this emotive language to persuade you this is the way to go, which identifies each building with 6 characters, beginning with the first letter of the parish, for example, and then the sample, because, okay, this BBID has been integrated into the Barbados addressing scheme to generate an updated postal code that meets international addressing standards. What that means? What does that mean? International address. But this is the same postal service that brought out some years ago a postal code, which, as far as has worked well. I learned mine on the spot, BB19036. I've never heard anybody complain. I never heard couriers or whatever complain they can't find it, does not work. So now we're going to international address. International. What kind of foolishness are you talking about? As though we went to school in August, every Saturday in August. I mean, it's nonsense. All right. Then it goes for updated postal code, and it goes on and on. I say, I see no reason. And then it says to improve service delivery, your updated postal code and includes. I see no reason, having already had a postal code,
Correct.
having had the Electoral and Boundaries Commission put every voting Barbados of voting age on the internet in 2022 for the world to see. No wonder we're getting so much hacking, all our businesses up there, right? Remember that? I know what more do they want? What more do they want to give persons? I see no reason why the a gas company tell folks they know where I live, right? What more information do I have that people can find me more easily? I don't. I think it's wrong. I think they. I think they're doing it. I think it's an underhand move by the government to get people to get more information by people and attract more people. But apart from that, let us look
Correct.
at the. Let us look at the. If you can bring the first slide for me, the one dealing with the Electoral and Boundaries Commission. If they can
Yes.
bring up right.
Yeah, that's going to come
So
up right now. Yes.
right, but they're laying the groundwork. They're involving postmen are now being I think the postmen are being politically manipulated. I think the staff of the Electoral and Boundaries Commission are being politically manipulated for things that fall outside of their legal scope of duties.
Yes.
When they read the objectives of the work of the Electoral and Boundaries Commission, you will see what I mean. That it does not apply. When they brings that up, you will see.
Yes.
And I think we have to push back on it. I am not. If they came to my house, I'll tell them, sorry, but would you please leave? I'm not cooperating. I told my father because there is no need to do it. What more do you international standards? I'm not a courier service. I have to find somebody a day every day. And Barbados is well known for asking persons of your addresses how to find some place. I mean, you might get roundabout
But
ways to
but,
get
but
there, but
Mr. Maurice, Sharon Innes is saying, so I guess the postal code wasn't international because that is what they said it was supposed to be. Wasn't that what it was supposed to be? The postal code, so that um, I thought that was what it was.
it was, but it wasn't glamorized with the international postal standards like this one is, right? So if you
Mm.
could read, if no, I think Dave has that. If you could read for you can say by me. So read what see
Yeah.
there on screen.
The
You read it.
Electoral and Boundaries Commission, the purpose of it is to maintain accurate registers for the national and electoral registration systems and to ensure the conduct of free, fair, and transparent elections.
Could you read that again for me, please?
It is the purpose of the Electoral and Boundaries Commission is to maintain accurate registers for the national and electoral registration systems and to ensure the conduct of free, fair, and transparent elections.
There's no hint there of it does not say any other related duties, or there's nothing there that would give you that they should be working alongside the postal workers. How then do they get? How then do they get? They're not conducting a survey. This material that they're getting is nothing to do with accurate register of national and national registration system. It has nothing to do with that. So
Mhm.
how can they justify then using Electoral and Boundaries Commission staff to work with the postal workers to get this information when it does not apply to their terms of reference by law? This
Right.
that what is on that what is on the screen and what is in the slide and what Marcia read was taken from the website of the Electoral and Boundaries Commission, straight from the website. Has nothing at all to do with addressing standards of working with other departments to get information. Nothing. These are specific to particular tasks to doing with elections. Unless some people think there might be elections coming. But sure, there's always one coming. But this, I think, there's out of character. I'm very suspicious about it, and I don't trust it. But apart from that, and I bear in mind how remember bear in mind what the Electoral and Boards Commission did to us in 22 when they put all of our business on the internet, and it's still there, all our personal information. And don't forget to, in that same 1922 elections, when they did not, the Electoral and Boundaries Commission did not even make an attempt to try to accommodate those who had COVID but still want to vote.
Correct.
Thousands of
Yes.
Barbadians were deprived of their legitimate electoral right by law since 1951 because the Electoral and Boundaries Commission, in its wisdom, or whatever it chose to think it was operating on, refused to do what other countries in the Caribbean did, make room for their citizens to vote when they make special provision, it can be done. In elections in Barbados, if people have difficulty in seeing or hearing or writing, special provision is given for them to be accompanied with somebody to accommodate them so they can cast their vote. How comes? How comes that no consideration was given? I think we should never forgive or forget the Electoral and Bongo Commission for that transgression against democracy in Barbados. To me, it's unforgettable and unforgivable.
Correct.
But there's some other peculiar things about the Electoral and Boundaries Commission. I checked on the electoral. I found out only that they now have a new chief electoral officer. At the bottom of that same notice you read, it said Mrs. Shirley Turton is the new chief electoral officer of the Electoral and Boundaries Commission. Her predecessor would have been Mrs. Angela Taylor. Mrs. Angela Taylor, I understand, has retired, but there was no public announcement at all. Look at the bottom of the screen, you see Mrs. Shirley Turton. Right. In the past in Barbados, under a different type of governance, this kind of information was routinely put through GIS to the people, an announcement in the press that it came out. Now you're making appointments here and there. It's serious and important posts that we know nothing about until you butt upon it. Like how you butt upon this, that's how you butt upon this name. So that Ms. Turton is now the chief.
It's something as important as this, but yet still they will hire all of these communication specialists and so on, because when they want to fool the people and want to present their, various policies that they want to put a wool over their eyes, if they find somebody that is going to talk sweet and present everything glossy and glistening, but important information like this, it's down here at the bottom of something.
Yeah, but they shall send it out. It used to be put in the official gazette. GIS will be sent releases, and so you inform people that people get to know who's in the institution. They can trust them. They know if they want to give them information, they can communicate with them. No, everything now is in a silo in Barbados. You get, but the same thing has happened to the chairmanship of the Electoral and Boundaries Commission. When I checked the website of the Electoral and Boundaries Commission, it only goes back to the membership up to 2020. On the website, it says it has a list of all the chairpersons from 1985. By the way, the Electoral Boundaries Commission will be 40 years old next year.
Right.
The first election conducted by it was in the by-election in May 1985 in St. Thomas to replace the Prime Minister Thomas, who died suddenly. So it's going to be 40 years next year. And would you believe that they say it's to 2020 to present, Mr. Leslie Haynes QC. Leslie Haynes QC up to 20. In other words, it does not tell us who the current chairman is. I only butt up and down again recently when we were getting some new garbage trucks to learn that the chairman of the new chairman of the Electoral and Boundaries Commission is also the chairman of the Sanitation Service Authority, and Mr. Ramon Ali. Okay, so now we know that he has replaced Mr. Leslie Haynes, who is now Chief Justice, as chairman of the Boundaries Electoral Commission. That should have been a straightforward announcement to the public so people know the Electoral Boundaries Commission is one of the most important institutions in our country. We should not be trifling with it. And this downgrading, this mistreatment of it is really leading to the downgrading of the whole quality of service in Barbados and quality of government. All right. Not only that, I'm wondering when last I have not heard an announcement out of the Electoral and Boundaries Commission probably since 2022. But I'm wondering, does the commission still meet? Does the commission still meet? Has it met the last couple of years? There are no announcement. There's nothing. How long has it met in the last year, for example? If not, if it has not been meeting as a body, it's a body of 5. The chairman is appointed by the Prime Minister and 2 others, 3 for the government side, chairman and 2 others for the government side, the deputy chairman and 1 other from the opposition side. So there's the chairman for the government side, and the deputy chairman is from the opposition side, right? So there's a system, there's a structure, there's a process. But they have not given you if there's any changes in the composition of the board or nothing. But also, it has not given any. I'm wondering how long when last did it meet? I like them to announce when and what business has it done,
Yes.
etc. So because MCB cannot afford to have this obzoki. You know the term obzoki from Jamaica?
Yes, we say it too. Exactly.
Obzoki means confused, not properly done, mixed up, mash up, wreck up. There's an obzoki government. That's what I'm called. That's the only I've been racking my brains to seek to find out any other Barbadian term that can represent an obzoki is the most graphic and meaningful way to describe this government. So I'm wondering, and this treatment of the Barbadian public is symptomatic. Is one of the most striking and characteristics of the government. And it's not you can't blame the particular institutions. I'm not blaming directly the Electoral Boundaries Commission
Yes.
because it has happened all over government, which means it has
It's
to be
all over.
a stated government policy to give as little information as possible. They choose to give you what you want to do. And let me make this point. Having been a journalist, I still consider myself a kind of journalist.
Yes, you are.
Okay. Once a journalist, always a journalist. In my days as a reporter, as a practicing journalist, if I had to live through this conversation, I would boycott any government briefing. You have to tell me what you want to tell me that suits you to make you look good. I would boycott them. Like you said, the press release, and I would carry the story for the benefit of the public, but I would not assign myself or a reporter go and cover it until you go back having press conferences where you meet with the press on the press's terms, open for the press to ask you, okay, we talk about education, and it's great. So you can't prepare to talk about education, but don't call me to a briefing, a media briefing, and give me a narrow. And they've been doing that for the last 6 years very effectively, robbing the Barbadian of information. There's no freedom of information. In fact, the media in Barbados not even quarrel about it anymore. You know, last month or early this month, you'll have heard about the international awards the Prime Minister got, person of that, spokesperson, global leader. But she has only held one sit-down interview in June, I think it's June or July 2018 with David Ellis. Since then, she's been interviewed all over the world, but has not found time to have a sit-down interview with one or two journalists and Barbados of that nation. I'm not talking about having a press conference to talk about COVID and you ask questions.
Exactly.
Right. We talk a proper sit-down conference where it can be done properly, questions asked, challenge. You only ask questions, right? But you question the answers. You're not only just to ask questions. But when the answers come, you question those same answers too. So I'm saying then that we are being mistreated, we are being shortchanged by under governance, and it's reflect. And this information, they say that in war, the first victim of war is truthful information. First thing you do is control the flow of information because you want to manipulate it and get your country on your side and get everyone on your side and your version of the war, etc. It's still happening today in the Middle East. You expel the journalists, etc., etc. So you want to control the narrative. So the government, under the pretense of giving information, controls the narrative. And for me, and I wish more Barbadians to pay attention to this,
Yes.
I learned that the role of a public relations officer, the role of a spokesperson or spokesman or communication specialist is to make the government or the entity look good. Not necessarily give the full picture to make them look good. So I take what any PR officer says or information specialist is the fashionable term these days with a grain of salt because they know that is spin they're putting into their employer or retail look good.
Well, Mr. Murray, this has been. Go ahead.
I want press conferences, sit down press conferences where both the press and the subject who's being questioned can be fully prepared and can be examined and held to account by the public of Barbados.
Accountability. And you have been saying it to us for a while that we need to have a whole segment dealing with the media. But I think as you're dealing with governance in this review, that will come underneath that, and we will work on that. But tonight, excellent, Mr. Murray. Thank you for the education, for allowing us to see the role of the Electoral and Boundaries Commission. It's one thing to know it, another thing to read it, to see it on the screen, and to see how this government, how they're using those resources and those officials and those people who work in the Electoral Boundaries Commission to carry out, some of their other duties. And for a lot of us, we have concerns about, we need some more answers about this BBID. But thank you so much, Mr. Murray. Well, we
You're
have
welcome.
in our green room someone who is new, very new to the Marcia Week show. But Mr. Murray, she is not an audience, not new to advocacy. Listen, I heard this woman, on my radio, and I heard her. I saw her on Facebook. I met her on the street. I was at a march that at least I think the students put it together. But I know she was behind there fanning some kind of flames, and I was so happy about that particular march that occurred, and it is no other than Mrs. Paula-Ann Moore. And let me tell you a little bit about her before she comes to us. Paula has an MBA with honors, by the way, and she's a past member of the Caribbean Corporate Government Institute in 2014. She's a corporate business professional. She's a business owner. She spearheaded the formation of the Group of Concerned Parents of Barbados and the Caribbean Coalition for Exam Redress, which is a CCER. And this woman, I remember, she was bringing the Caribbean together, Mr. Murray. A Bajan that they tend to think we are so passive. But this is what Miss Paula-Ann Moore, bio is right there. So much that, I mean, you can take a read of it. It's right there on the screen. She serves on the Barbados Union of Teachers as well, and I suspect that's as a parent rep there. But Paula-Ann Moore, she is going to be with us this evening, and she's going to talk about parental and advocacy matters with an emphasis on education. I need every parent to be signed on tonight. I can attest to the power of this woman. I was so happy for her. Mr. Murray, in the time when we had the COVID and the students had to take the CXC, do you remember that big foul up with CXC and the grades?
Of course,
Yes.
I quite remember that.
Oh my
I also
God.
want to say, she did admirable work. She's never stopped. She's been agitated almost nonstop. If you read the
Yes.
newspapers on these education matters, and I just want to extend a personal welcome to her, to say that I knew her before I knew her and her mother before she was born. So I know her that long now. I don't mean to embarrass her. I know. Right, Ms. Moore, and I want to welcome you. Keep up your good work. I'm a great fan of yours. I remember we used to encounter each other on the call-in programs, and you're a real guerrilla fan. Keep pushing on. Good to see you.
Yes.
How's your father doing these days, by the way?
Oh, thank you so much for asking, Mr. Murray. My father is a fighter. He is an inspiration, as is my mother. I'm blessed and privileged to have them both in my life. And I tell people all that I am, all that my children have, it is because of what my parents were able to provide for us as very young parents, working hard and persevering to do the best that they could be. There are models and inspirations. So I thank you, both of you, for that introduction. My head now, I can't fit it through the door. So thank you so much. And
You're
just
welcome.
again, by way of introduction, back in 2020, when there was the CXC grading fiasco, I was never involved in advocacy. Really, I did the bit that I could do for my children in, volunteering in the school and so on and so forth. But, as they say, it takes your corns getting mashed sometimes. We're all busy.
Yeah.
for
Good to
us
hear.
to really, for issues to really be driven home to us. And the scale was, it was national, it was regional, and I just have a keenly attuned sense of justice, and seeing the injustice perpetuated on our children, I took the initiative to reach out throughout the Caribbean to form the coalition, because what came through to me is the voices of the children were not being heard, and the
Right.
voices of the parents were not being heard. And the more I interacted with other teachers, other parents, other principals, other education stakeholders nationally and regionally, it did seem as though certain education stakeholders, and I will wear the hat of a parent first and foremost, oftentimes it seems as though our voices are not heard and we don't have a seat at the table when it comes to decision making, and certainly incorporating our views in generating policy. So I take pride that I was able to play my part to ensure that parents and children's voices were listened to and heard. I take pride. People have asked what we have been able to achieve. Not everything that we wanted to be achieved was achieved. We advocated for a change in governance in how CXC is
Right.
governed by CARICOM. We still advocate for independent external regulation of CXC. There are too many errors in exam papers, in grading, even up to this year. The e-testing that we rolled out nationally in Barbados, there were too many errors that took place there, and children were disadvantaged unnecessarily. They were stressed unnecessarily. And one of the things that we were able to achieve is we advocated directly to CXC, and they changed their policy. Previously, if you requested a review of your grades, the child risked that their grades would be demoted when they did that review. And obviously, that's a disincentive for children to even request the grade. And we were successful in getting the independent review team that reviewed the fiasco back in 2020 to make stern recommendations to CXC, which they accepted, that they ended that policy. And when you submit a review, you at least get back at a minimum the originating preliminary grade. So
Wow.
you either get an improvement, but you don't risk. And I had horror stories of parents calling me saying their child ended up with a worse grade. So,
Yes.
and just the fact that we have raised the profiles and we have demonstrated that parents and children have a right to be heard, and we are watching. And here we are in the 5th academic year. And as issues come forward, there's still far too many issues that are coming forward when it comes to the national and regional administration of CXC. Without fear or favor, parents and teachers reach out to me, and I advocate for improvement constructively always.
Yes.
I am apolitical. I just look for justice for our children.
And you know, can I just say something,
Sure.
Mrs. Moore? I want to publicly thank you for your advocacy, because sometimes people say, oh, you know, you out there and you are speaking up all the time. What's the purpose of that? You know, they like to, you could have just sit down. No, this is one parent. I tell you, Barbados, that's Dave and I benefited from that, because our son, who was part of that group of students, Mrs. Moore, because of your advocacy, was able to get his grade reviewed. And in getting his grade reviewed, he got his rightful grade, and he was able to get an exhibition, which, thank the Lord, helped us so that we as people who could not afford to send our children overseas to study, Mr. Murray, that change of that grade was able to help us to get our son overseas to study. So I want to thank Mrs. Moore publicly, and there are many more parents. So when you see advocates out there like, oh, they could sit down there, it's all about themselves, whatever. No, this, I can tell you, she's a real deal, and our family and our son benefited. So thank you, Mrs. Moore.
Well, that is an honor and a privilege to be able to do so. And actually, you raise a point. Everything that I have done, there was no need for me personally to raise my profile,
I know that.
nationally. And there was a lot of negative, nasty invective that was directed towards me personally. As always happens, you've had it, Mr. Murray, you've had it. It comes with the territory. You recognize that. But I felt that there was a higher purpose for these children. Some people said it was for bougie children.
Yes.
Spoiled bougie children. And I don't think people seem to forget. Children come from all walks of life, and they should all have an equal opportunity to benefit, to materialize their potential. And being able to excel academically is nothing to be ashamed of. And all of us have benefited from the value and importance of education to climb that ladder. And my concern is that we risk knocking down the education ladder by which the majority of us have been able to improve our lot in life. And if I know that time is short, but what I want to move on to now is what I wanted to focus on tonight. And I will link it back. We started by how I came onto the scene. I will link it back now to what I find gives me sleepless nights. Crime and violence in Barbados. We have had some statistics that have come out recently. And frankly, I don't know why we're not on the street every day. And I am quoting from both Cheryl Willoughby, the director of the Criminal Justice Research and Planning Unit, and Kim Ramsey, who I believe is a criminologist in the AG chambers. The average age of people accused of murder over the past 6 months was 17 to 18. The average age of individuals involved in gun-related murders was 16. United Nations child rights expert Faith Marshall-Harris said that Barbados needed an urgent and major intervention to address the rise in organized crime, which has seen an increase in the recruitment of children. This is as reported from Barbados Today over the weekend. Now, I think now we're at 50, the number of murders in Barbados. The last time we had that level of murders in Barbados, I believe was in 2019. I think last year we had 19 murders. And we just talk, that's murders, but then obviously gun-related crime and violent crime, that is equally on an upward trajectory. Those ages, and it's predominantly young teen boys and young men, that again, I am speechless. This has been reported going back from November, I believe, when Ms. Ramsey first indicated these numbers. There was a symposium of crime and violence as a public health matter, a CARICOM symposium of heads of governments. They had one recently in November. I haven't seen much reporting about that. They had one, the first one I believe was in 2023 in April, when the Prime Minister, Keith Rowley, said that schools are breeding violence.
Yeah, I think we have that. Yeah, we're going to put that up for you.
Right.
But
Yes, I know you will. You will.
yes,
This, so it's not just a Barbadian problem, but we live in Barbados, so we have to. This should be a fire alarm going off in every home in Barbados. And again, look, I'm linking it back into education, because the experts tell us that low education outcomes are linked to crime and violence perpetrated by those children. So we all know that low education outcomes, it's a complex interplay of myriad factors. It's of course, fundamentally the home and family environments. We know that a lot of children that do not perform well academically, when you look back, they have some learning challenges. They may never have been diagnosed with neurodivergent challenges such as dyslexia, ADHD. You know, we know all of those diagnoses can be very expensive, outside the means of most parents. I gather recently there was only one psychologist for our entire education system. I believe they have recently increased that number, but still. We know the community environment can impact on how children learn, and how they're socialized and how they're mentored and influenced. We know that the extended family has it has changed significantly from when all of us on this platform or on this panel were children. Grandmothers are working, mothers are working, fathers are working. Who is mentoring our children? We do know, and I will be frank, too many of us, of parents, are not fulfilling their parental role in terms of mentoring, disciplining, training their children. They're leaving it up to the schools and the teachers to train their children. So more parents need. There's a lot of lazy parenting going on. Let's be frank.
Yes.
But if we say A, we have to say B. There are parents that genuinely, whether they're ready to admit it or not, that's another thing. There are parents who need help. They do need help. And unfortunately, it's those socioeconomically disadvantaged children and parents that have the least resources and the greater challenges impacting them and impacting on their children. I have to commend the Barbados Union of Teachers, Mr. Lovell, the president. He has been sounding the alarm consistently for a considerable amount of time, as has the BSTU. But I have been seeing more of the BUT in recent times sounding this alarm about the challenges relating to crime and violence. We see it at the national level, but in the school level, I wanted to read you this litany when the school started out this term that has just concluded. Within the first 3 weeks, there was a stabbing. 2 children at one school were in a fight that led to one being stabbed. The following Friday, classes were dismissed at another school. 2 children were involved in an after-school altercation, and one was stabbed. A pupil at a primary school pulled a knife on another child. Then there were fights at another secondary school, and a child being slashed on a bus. At another school, a child took up a cutlass from the workshop at school. A primary school, a parent entered a primary school compound and threatened a teacher. And I'm not going to go on, but it's been going on far too long. And I know that the minister announced, let me see. there was announcement, I think back in the same November, that there was a national school security and safety policy that was being rolled out. But again, as Mr. Lovell said, 5 or 6 years ago, there was a similar policy that was announced. But again, and you're rolling the quote, the article there, he raised the point, unless we have clear implementation timelines and you drill down to the nitty-gritty of implementation, you can have the best strategy and the best plan in the world, but if the implementation does not materialize, we are spinning top in mud. We know that Corey Lane, the Minister Corey Lane, he announced, I believe, over the last few days that there's a national crime prevention plan that is at the AG for approval. We understand that there's a one family program from the Ministry of People Empowerment. We know that education transformation, that's a work in progress, and they've rolled out a literacy task force. We know that there's the child protection legislation that was recently passed. But a lot of these strategies are going to take a long time to implement. The experts, not just me, though looking as a layperson looking on, I have come to the conclusion that the experts that I have mentioned have said we are in the middle of a national crisis as it relates to crime and violence in our society. And the schools are reflecting what is manifesting in the wider community. What are the short-term solutions? What are the short-term strategies that are being implemented now to address the situation? I know that both unions, the BSU and the BUT, and I have come out and shared or reiterated or endorsed what they have said, that the minister herself, the Minister of Education, has identified that there are 300 children within the public school system that they have identified as problematic. And obviously within the school system, those children, and I believe some teachers have told me the numbers are more than 300. Those children are going to be disrupting the school environment. And frankly, teachers have a right to a safe environment of work. Certainly students have a right to a safe environment of work. When they come to their education. So what are we doing about those children that have been identified by the authorities as problematic? So if you suspend them or expel them, what is going to happen? Are they going to end up on the block? Are they going to end up being recruited by the gangs, as Ms. Marshall Harris has indicated? I know that we had a separate facility in the past where these problematic children were taken out of the home environment, taken out of the community. But I understand that how that was rolled out was problematic, because you don't want to end up housing those children, not providing the correct best practice means of counseling, of education for those children. And then eventually those children are going to end up back in the community without their challenges being fundamentally addressed. I know the unions have called for a similar type of facility to be set up. That's one of my articles or columns in Barbados Today that's on the screen right now, where I said national violence equals school violence, urgent action is needed. If you scroll up, you would see, I'm sorry, it was split into two. So it's hard really to see there. But I call yet again that we need urgent response. concomitant at the same time as the short-term and long-term measures that the government says they're putting in place. But it's not clear enough to me. I invite you to comment and the rest of the listeners to comment. What are we seeing now today to help these children that are clearly calling out for help? The parents are calling out for help, whether they're actually coming and saying they need help, or you can see that they need help because of how their children are behaving. What are we doing right now in this crisis to address this situation in our schools?
Yes.
As it relates to crime and violence, safety and security in our schools.
Yes. Well, thank you. I mean, I was listening to you and just amazed as you were taking us back from the first term, the first week of school, and I was remembering all those things.
Remember? Yes.
Yeah, and how we felt, Mr. Murray. We came on
Yeah.
here, we're like shocked. It's like, is this Barbados? You know, but then we go into, you know, we go into like Christmas and we forget, you know, because the children are not back in school, but they're going back in school in another week and a half, right, Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
You know, and so this is why a show like this is so important, that as citizens, we now look at this issue and we join with Mrs. Moore and say, okay, what is it that we need to do? We do not, everything doesn't have to come from government. Some things need to, and everything don't need to be political, but we are citizens. And we can come up with some strategies. Mr. Murray, what do you say to parents, and what do you have any suggestions?
I think we made a big mistake when we determined that crime is a public health issue. I think we got ourselves mixed up because it is not it's a social issue, but have public implications. I think so. That's one myth. The other myth we are living in is that we don't have gangs in Barbados, so we don't have organized crime. Another, until we recognize those factors and deal with them as they are, and not as those are the basics, and you look for that. In the same way, my thinking is, in the same way that if a child has whooping cough, or the measles, or the mumps, you can pluck them out of school and treat them, and then put them back to school. We have to have a system in place where when children are spotted to have difficulties, physically, psychologically, whatever, they can be selected, dealt with, and be reintegrated back into the system. Otherwise, you're just going to keep revolving ourselves and turn over the same cadre of people over and over again. So I think that, and I do not expect it from this present ministry. I really don't. This is easily the most unproductive ministry ever in education. Education used to be on our bedrock, on our prize. Now it's full of confusion and talk. Look what happened with Grantley Adams School. Was it a term? And nobody.
Yes, I was just about to move. I was about to move on. Well, not move on. Also identify there is violent crime, but that in terms of safety, but then safety in the environment in terms of all of the environmental issues. But then also you go to school to learn. And Grantley Adams has been, I believe, online for an entire term. And what updates have we heard as to, we know all too painfully well from the COVID lockdown era, online education is deeply, profoundly problematic. I would say it does not work for the majority of students. And a lot of students still, to this day, have not recovered from the learning losses, not to mention the emotional and mental anguish of that's a whole conversation in itself, mental health, you know, and how it's impacted on our children and how it's manifesting in their behavior. But online education does not work. It does not work when you have the means to have your own laptop and your own quiet place to study. We're blessed and privileged that we have as you can see behind me, well, it's our home office, but the children have their own safe space that they can study. A lot of children had to get a phone and beg for the neighbor Wi-Fi. Come on. We need, I expect this week to hear from the ministry as to what's happening with Grantley Adams.
I'm saying that.
And the other schools where teachers are not turning up to teach the children. That is problematic as well.
What I'm saying, what has been done to Grantley Adams is violence. It's a criminal act against them and their education. You have to say it in equal terms. If it had been Corbin or God, that would not have happened so quietly. The country should have been offended and sensed that a whole term could go by and nobody treat as though it's just another day, another walk in the park. I think it's offensive, it's unequal, it's repugnant, and all those involved should hold their head in shame. They were not updated. They had to be run down to get some kind of education. It was treated as though it's not a big thing. It is a big thing. Every child who goes to school is a big thing. And the quality of education given is a big thing. We have to treat it that way and work on erase the snobbery and inequality and things. The disparities in society. It's no good. It's no good, and we have to be serious. Otherwise, we're going to just go repeating same mistakes over and over again.
I agree with you 100%, sir. And what I would also say, I see the legendary Madame McCLEAN here. But what I would yes,
that's a big
I want to be like you when I grow up someday, Madame McCLEAN.
Listen, I taught her mom at university.
Oh
so.
Lord, you're always playing that every time, and my mother is so thrilled. And I have to shout out my mother. She was married. I think my father tells me her father had to sign the marriage because she didn't make 21 when she got married. She had the three of us. I don't know if she was 25 by the time the three of us, but by the time we were adults and we were in university, my lady Grace Patricia, aka Patsy Moore, went to Cave Hill and got her degree with honors. And Madame McCLEAN, another powerful woman here, called Grace Moore. And to this day, she calls your name. So I salute you. I salute all the powerful moms that do the best that they can every day. But what I also want to say, sir, is that the treatment of Grantley Adams is also a sign of the disparity which you touched on, of how our children are treated. And I would also say that I know that a lot of people focus on the 11 plus exam. We know all too well the challenges of the 11 plus exam, the labeling that comes with it, how certain schools are categorized because you know that the children have a certain mark that they got to that school. I remember a experienced teacher quoted one of his children saying, "We didn't pass from our school, we failed for our school." And that should break the heart of every right-thinking Bajan in this country. But what I would also say is that it is an easy political target, and it's a distraction from the fundamental challenges in our education. Because you tell me a child was at school 7 years in primary school, sits an exam, is allowed to sit an exam and torture itself at age 10, 11 years old, scores 0 to 30% in an exam after 7 years at school. That child is not flagged by the school as requiring remedial help. That child then goes to secondary school made to feel like a failure, and then is expected to do the same exam, for the most part, the same subjects as a child that scored 70 to 100%. That is violence perpetrated on our children. And I know that's a long-term issue, but until we deal with the failure at remedial level, the identification and the remedial strategy of, is it the majority of our children? Because the statistics that we should see nationally as to the academic performance, and at the end of the day, yes, we're implementing different types of education for our children, but still an adult and a child, in order to function in society, there are certain basic academic standards that they need to meet. And if you're telling me that we're allowing generations every year, thousands of children, is it the majority of the children that are leaving school uncertified? And then coming back to where I started, and then we're asking ourselves why crime and violence is being perpetrated. I read it again. The average age of people accused of murder over the past 6 months was 17 to 18 years old. And not people, teen boys, let's call it for what it is. The average age of individuals involved in gun-related murders was 16. My Lord, education, low self-esteem, mentoring, it's inevitable that we're going to have these statistics. And these statistics are flesh and blood children of our society.
Yes,
Our
yes.
entire society has failed these children. What are we doing to turn the boat?
Well said, Mrs. Moore. I see there's a viewer that is disagreeing with you and feeling that the 11 plus is what needs to be fixed. But I tend to agree with you that there's a bigger problem. It's not that it doesn't need to be fixed, but we've got to go up to go to some foundational,
Yes.
curriculum issues and structures. And that is, I feel that is why we've not been able to do anything with the 11 plus, because we're just it's like we're picking the lowest hanging fruit and dangling in front of the electorate all the time. And everybody comes in and dangles this apple or this golden apple before people, and they do nothing about it. And I think it's time we have a frank discussion about this. But we have a caller here. And I know Miss McCLEAN wants to get in there, but let's have this caller from he's calling from Trinidad. Good evening, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, good evening, Marcia. Good evening to your panel. Good evening to your viewers. Peace and blessings from Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes, sir.
Well, Mrs. Moore, you stepped on, as we say in local parlance, you stepped on my phone tonight. What happened is I am doing some activism work relating to the schools and stuff in Trinidad and Tobago with the First Wave movement. And, we have been receiving reports from various schools, primary schools and secondary schools as well, about varying degrees of violence in the schools. And it is certainly a rise in it since the return to school since after the lockdown. And I am also a member of an organization called the Responsible Parents Group of Trinidad and Tobago. And our concerns during the lockdown was what would happen with these students who would return to school, having been away from school for an extended time without any supervision. And those who would have been with some supervision, what type of supervision they would have had, right? Some of them would have found themselves on the block, as they say, right? And would have been initiated into these gangs, right? And we are seeing evidence of it in the schools right now in Trinidad and Tobago, because we get the reports we have coming in from parents. It's crimes such as extortion in the schools, and it's organized extortion because the perpetrators are saying to the victims, like, look, your parents are involved in so on such business.
Yes.
Right? So that they have done their background check. This is organized crime within the school. Where is this coming from? It's obvious that these students have been initiated into some criminal organization. Right? We have reports of essays. Well, I'm not too sure if I'm able to see it, but we know what essays are. Marcia, do you have an idea what I'm speaking about?
No, what you said, if I know what, can you repeat the question to me?
The F is the letter F.
Ah, yes. Sexual abuse.
Sexual assault.
Assault, okay.
Yeah. In some schools, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not some schools, a lot of schools.
Okay, so you're seeing a lot of that in Trinidad.
A lot of, and there's also, and I'm not only talking about among boys and girls, I'm not talking also about a same-sex affairs, sexual assault.
Wow.
Right? One such report came to from a primary school.
A primary school, wow. But
Primary school, yeah.
let me hear Mrs. Moore make some comments, because I know she has contacts in Trinidad. And are you hearing of some of these issues in Trinidad? And do you know of, in your organization, do you guys talk about some of these solutions for these problems?
Yes, well, in addition to, I am very involved with the Trinidad. I have a Trinidad parent and teacher body that we have regular communication, and also the National Council of the PTA in Trinidad and Tobago. And my understanding is, frankly, I think our societies are more similar than they are different. And I think what that gentleman, and sir, I would like to get your contact details. So I hope you can leave them with us.
Yes, I'll get that to you.
Yes. But certainly those are issues that I have heard mentioned coming out of Trinidad. But I think all of us would recognize tragically that, and again, we're looking at, when we see these children acting out, when we see these girls wandering or reported not coming home, and we unfortunately tend to, culturally, I think we have a response that children are bad behaved, she-what-less. Very often, those girls are the victims of sexual and other abuse. And it's tragic that if they're fleeing to a male protector, that is why they're going to that man, because they are more, and that's tragic that a teen would feel more comfortable going and leaving home and being with a man because of what the home environment is. So I think we need to address, but again, these are long-term strategies you need to address, getting to the issue. And I think it has to start within the home, within the community leaders, the schools, more guidance counselors. We are very under-resourced when it's looking at guidance counselors and psychologists to deal with these children that are crying out for help and are at risk.
Yes. Thank you, Carlos. And we will, with your permission, I will be able to pass your information on to Mrs. Moore. Is that okay?
That's perfectly fine. I would also like to have her contact information as well.
You like her contact information. So yes, I'll have a discussion off air. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Yes. Okay. That's wonderful. We listen, when it comes on to this topic, Miss McCLEAN, I know that you have a lot to say on this, and I can see the people, I mean, when you read the comment section, this is a passionate area for people. I'm going to ask everybody to keep liking and sharing. People coming back off of holidays and not knowing we're on, I need you to keep sharing. But Mr. Neville Brathwaite is saying here, Miss McCLEAN, that the first thing that has to be done is to conduct a security survey, Ms. Moore, he's saying, at every school to determine the security requirement for each school and document it. But as far as I'm concerned, repeat that.
But I'm sure that, but so I appreciate Mr. Brathwaite's input, but surely the ministry already has that information.
Oh,
Well,
Are you sure
I
about
am
that?
making an assumption.
Are you sure about that? I don't know
The
that.
BUT has indicated that I believe there's 68 primary schools, and approximately 20 of them don't have security guards. I know
Really?
that was, and
But
I might be speaking out of turn. Well, if I'm speaking out of turn, somebody will correct me fast enough. But the point remains that the unions have already said that they're insufficient security guards. But
I've heard
I
that
think
too.
there's
I've
a
heard
bigger
that.
point that Mr. Braffett is probably making. And I think I suspect I know who Mr. Braffett is, and he comes from a military background. But what I think he's saying is that perhaps the situations at schools vary, and perhaps you will need to understand the challenges that each school might face. And when he says the first thing, I'm not sure within the context, because when he says the first thing that has to be done in relation to security. So I wasn't sure. I couldn't hear what the person from Trinidad was saying. I missed most of what, because the person was pretty low. But I think what it is that, that is an important issue. And what I deduce from that is that different schools may have different realities in terms of security threats and so on. And perhaps beyond even making sure that they have security, an individual, because I wonder sometimes what these guards can do in the face of some of the things that we're seeing, but it's
Maxine, if it's a security guard, one security guard stationed at a fixed point, who seldom is a joke.
precisely.
You should have people patrolling at points to look that the staff, the students interact with, they don't know what's going on. But when they're fixed at a point at the gate, we have to approach them and share ID. That's laughable. The problem is, Maxine, is that there's no money to do these things. This involves hiring staff, extend your expenditure, and you're entering the IMF vice grip. So you have to play around the edges, but you spend the money instead on consultants and specialists and whatnot, rather than doing the basic things. There should be at least 2 people on staff on a shift at the school at the same time, at least.
I just wanted to touch on the no money. It's a question of priorities, efficiencies, and so you touched on those, because I think there's a lot of wastage,
Of
and
course.
that is something that has to be addressed.
Yeah.
At the level of budgeting, and also at the level of using of funds
Priorities,
and so on,
priorities,
and priorities.
priorities, priorities.
Yeah. But Miss Moore, we've gone way over your time, and I would love if as we are coming up to the start of school again, I am shudder. I tell you, when you started to read the list and of the activity, I hate it was a criminal, but the activities that were happening in school at the start of the school year, and to know we're going back into school in another week or so. I shudder to think, Ms. Moore, what is going to be happening. And I would love if we could come back, and as parents, I want us to seriously, you know, get your children around this computer, around your computer, if they would, get some of the teenagers and let us have this conversation together, Miss Moore, as a family.
Yes.
I think we need to not just let this be a talk shop. We
Yeah.
need to be able to come away from this with some additional things. I see the BUT. Thank you for sharing a lot with us tonight about that. That I can see where they are seeking to provide answers. It
Yeah.
seems that way to me. I learned that tonight. And I think as citizens, as parents, Miss McCLEAN, let us come away from these discussions with some suggestions that we can add to the BUT, add to what the government is doing, add to or to get them agitated, to
Yeah.
do something, do some more, something else. And this time it's not enough. I see you're saying something, Miss Moore.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I'm sorry for taking up so much time, but as anyone that knows me knows I could talk for days. I'm very passionate on this topic. I think I play a useful and valuable role in saying what people think, but not many of us are willing or capable of articulating. But I think there are 2 levels Number one, leadership, proactive leadership. And I think based on what transpired, as I listed in the last academic term, we need to hear what the government is, before school starts, what's happening with security. These are the measures that are going to be in place. We know that there's a problem. We didn't touch on gangs in school. There are children and parents that have reached out to me that there's some children in school that are operating like mini gangs and terrorizing the children. What is the strategy to address at a granular level what's happening in the schools? So that's at the leadership level. We are our brother's keeper. We need to go back at an individual level, at a community-based level. Oh my Lord, that is horrific, horrific. Oh, pray for our children. They're acting out what they are seeing.
Yes.
But you know what the aggressor just now, the girl, which is unfortunate, you know.
Well, I missed that. I just saw the boy pelting.
No, she hit him first because she was there in front of him. Look, check it out there.
It is sad.
But Martin, if you're teaching girls, if you say like females are equal to males, they would internalize that and act it out too.
And the guy is like trying to.
They have equal rights.
As you said, they're acting out what they see and what they live.
But and what I'm getting at is at a community level, which is what you touched on, Mrs. Weeks, is that we need to do more at a community level instead of saying this is not my problem. It is all of our problems.
Exactly.
They're coming through our door. We cannot hide behind the gates and the terraces and the heights there, so we have a person, if you want to say a self-interest. If we don't have empathy and compassion about the future of our children, we have a self-interest to fix it, and it's going to take all hands on deck. What I will also close quickly by saying is that we know that the 11 plus has challenges. My fear is I remember my aunt tells me of when she applied to Queen's College, and they wrote back to her. They actually had the audacity to write back to my mother's sister, Dr. Sylvia Norville, the first chief nursing officer of Barbados that the late Branford Tate, God rest his soul, brought back to Barbados. Queen's College wrote back to my aunt and told her that her application came 5 minutes late, so they denied her entry. My other aunt, matron Maria Asgill of QEH, she applied to St. Michael's, and in the interview, they asked her how many people sleep in a bed. Do they have running water? Do they have a pit toilet? That was the subjective way that our education was run before the Errol Walton Barrow democratized and gave all of us the opportunity based on what was up in here, not where we lived. Yes, poor people are disadvantaged, but at least a bright poor child has
an opportunity.
And my fear is that we kick down the ladder that all of we and raise our lot. And I am a conservative at heart, and I fear that we say do away with 11 plus, okay, and replace it with what?
Exactly.
Replace it. I ain't hear what all that I have heard, and I've been very, very vocal about it, nationally and regionally. All that I have heard, I can't understand. I know it is a work in progress, but come with me with something that will persuade parents that this is not going to make a bad situation that much worse. And as far as I'm concerned, if you fix what's happening at the primary school level and help children at the secondary level, the long term, even if you have an exam for some schools, if we specialize academic schools, creative schools, athletic schools, whatever, sports schools, if we are able to give those children that need help the help, you're not going to see that tremendous disparity. And Madame McCLEAN the educator can verify or
No, I certainly agree with you. I am one of 11 children.
Voila.
And there's a 24-year gap between the first and the last. The reason I'm sharing that, Paula-Ann, is that my family in my generation went through exactly what you said. We had my oldest brother had to stop school at Combermere because my parents couldn't pay the fees. I had a brother who passed for Combermere, but during the interview, those questions that you asked were asked, and I didn't even know this until a classmate of him told that to me years after. He said, you know, your brother Morris was very bright, but when he did the interview, he ended up at St. Leonard's instead of Combermere. So I went through those things. It was when it came down to me number 9 in the list of 11 that I did the common entrance at 10 years old, as we used to call it, the screening test, or BAJANS used to call it screaming test.
Screaming test.
And I then went to Queen's College, and my sister before me. So in my family, with my siblings, we went through all of those things. And I agree with you when you say the abolishing of the common entrance is not the answer. Because as you said, what are we going to replace it? And I will give you a quick example. Marcia, as you say, this is something that I feel passionate about too.
I know. We got Mr. Holland just know that I am going to plead with Miss Paula-Ann Moore, because she is actually saying what we have to say. She has to come back, and especially on a serious note. Don't lose your point there. Don't lose your point. I want to appeal to people, please. Let's not sensationalize this. Let's not politicize this. Let us seriously. I am seriously concerned.
This is about our children, and I'll give you an example, because when we talk about alternatives, people talk about zoning. I live near the new Queen's College. In the area near the Queen's College, you have all the Husbands Heights Gardens, Crystal Heights, and whatever. You have on the other side, Heights Village and Tarps Terrace and Tarps Housing Area, and so on. Now, if we zone, I would, if you may not be a betting person, Marcia, but I would bet you that the children from Tarps Housing Area wouldn't be sent to Queen's College. They would be sent down the hill to the Frederick Smith School. You understand what I'm saying? So when they start to talk about zoning, if we start to talk about zoning, who will go to Harrison College?
All Combermere.
Or Combermere. The guys from Nelson Street, the girls from Nelson Street, the girls from Cat's Castle or whatever. So you see, when I did the common entrance, my parents didn't send me to any lessons or anything. I did not have all those extra things. I went to school. We did the work. We did the exam. My mother took me. Ironically, I did the exam at Queen's College. That's where I ended up, quite coincidentally. My mother dropped me for the exam. I went in and did it. But, you know, people want to suggest all kinds of things. The problem, as Paula says, if we have children who have learning disabilities, give them the assistance they need. When I was a little girl, you know, one of the problems I had, and it was only discovered by my brother, I needed glasses. But then I discovered that we have a family, Haynesville, that's one that Pedro is sharing. Those children won't go to Queen's College. I can bet you if they had a zoning. But so children may need to be tested when they can't see the board or they're not responding. They may be dyslexic. Well, God rest his soul, he died at 40. Unfortunately, my nephew, he was dyslexic, but he got a first class in math. He was a math wizard from a child, but it was diagnosed very early and he had special support for that. And he got first class honors. So my thing is that we have to understand that special assistance may be needed. That has to happen. There may be interventions. There may need to be interventions at the home and all of these things. But we are hearing a lot of what I call surface solutions or surface suggestions, because they're not solutions, but which do not delve into the fundamentals. But I could go on and on.
Yeah.
Can I have one last comment before
yes,
you go?
One last comment. And
yeah.
Yes.
First of all, just to say two things. where Mrs. Moore is concerned, there's only one thing wrong with your presentation tonight. You did not give notice that your mother came from Spoonersville.
My mother, my grandmother, my great grandmother, we are Spoonersville peeps, and I grew up in Black Rock, and I consider myself
Black Rock. You hear that? Black Rock.
Black Rock. Okay.
But apart from that, Maxine talk about her being one of 11. I was one of 4. But it all started. The home has to recognize the importance of education and play their role in it. Has to start there, right? I went to school on scholarship, purely on scholarship, because my mother was a single mother. My father had gone away and left her. So we got, my brother and I went. He got through, and I got through his scholarship at Combermere, and so and we were poor children. I took, we cut water at the standpipe for a number of years and walk at the gap with me. All this. So this idea that if you're poor, you can't make it, you have to have an environment that cultivates the idea of learning and wanting to get on, and it always pays. I know a certain family from in the 50s live in the Pine. The son, Barbados scholar, big doctor. I mean, these things are possible, and everybody in the family has to call it Combermere. Everybody else. So this idea that you're condemning yourself by address or self or the rest of society, it has to come from the home. You need to cultivate values. Your parents will learn. No child should go through primary, secondary school and can't read nor write at the end. No, that is a societal crime. It's a source of violence for no child.
Yes.
No child. And that's what we have to work. Go back to first principles and come back forward.
This has been very, 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 very special, and we want to thank you, Mrs. Paula-Ann
Moore.
I'm going to say Porter because there is a lady in Jamaica that's very well known with that name. So every time and then she, she's very vocal like yourself. But I want to, Maxine, she said Paula-Ann. I'll go with Paula-Ann. That will help me a lot more.
Yes.
Paula-Ann, I want to thank you for really enlightening us tonight and for conveying your passion about this subject, this matter to us. Really setting us on fire. And my hope is that we can have you again. We're going to see if, next week, Sunday, you can, you look at your schedule and see how, because I think especially now we're getting ready to go back in school. And believe me, the powers that be, everybody watches this program. They don't all type. And we want to really encourage, though, the parents and the children to watch the show together. So we're going to bring you on a little earlier in the evening so that we can have, Miss McCLEAN, a family discussion. I think that is very, very, very important. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Black Rock all the way.
Black Rock.
Spoonersville.
And Spoonersville. Wait, I gotta tell something. Philip. I grew up in Philip. Sorry, Philip. But listen, Merry Christmas. I want to wish everyone a blessed and holy Christmas season and a fabulous 2025. This is just the beginning. As Arnold Schwarzenegger would say, I'll be back.
I'll be back, yes. Let's come up with
hasta la vista, baby.
Touche.
Well, listen, let us designate 2025 that we're going to come up with solutions for our children. We owe it. We owe it to our children. We owe it to our 2025. It's our year, and we're going to come up with these solutions, working with all the various organizations that are already working. Thank you so much, Paula, and God bless you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Goodbye.
Wow, that was exciting, guys, and that was very educational. I learned a lot about the union and what that they're actually actively working. Sometimes we we throw criticisms at them, sometimes not knowing all that they're doing. But I realize that they are working, and the organization that she has formed, I didn't realize how much it stretched throughout the Caribbean.
Yes,
I had no idea.
It's a regional organization. Marcia, I just want to say one thing. in relation to solutions, and it relates to the last show we had with the coordinated adult program. I was trying to remember with Sister 66. I remember the 66. I don't remember the.
Yes, Lawyer 66. Yes.
Right. And it's to say that the young man who prompted me to raise the issue has indicated that he wants to participate in the program. Remember, I told you there was a young man, and I gave you, and I sent him a message, and he responded. He sent me back a voice note saying he would love to be part of the program.
Yes, so, wonderful. Well, I will pass your information
to her.
Loyal Daughter 66.
Right.
And so you guys can coordinate.
And I would put her in touch with the young man because
yes. I'm sorry. Go right ahead, Ms.
No, I said because I think, as I said, he was the person who led me to speak about this on the first occasion, which then, when we had the discussions, then we've now got this. And so when he said he would participate, I was very happy. So.
Yes, and Sandra Watkins is saying it's a lot of long talk and no help for the ones who need some of these. Kids are just left behind. This is a solution that has come about because of you, Sandra, the people, the viewers on the show, where you've come up with this solution right here on the show, Elevated, and we're now elevated its readiness for the next stage, improve literacy, enhance skills, preparation for work, where Mrs. Rose Corbin, who normally speaks on education, not here tonight. Hopefully she can join us again whenever Mrs. Paula-Ann Porter is on. Hopefully that Miss
Paula-Ann Moore.
Paula-Ann Moore, oh my goodness. Paula-Ann Moore is on. And I hope Mrs. Felicia Dujon will be able to join us as well. All of those people who are advocates, and we come together and come up with a solution. And I tell you, we are getting ready, Mr. Murray, to launch Elevated in Nelson Street and also in Wellington Street. And I see Mr. Joining us tonight, Ms. McCLEAN. I see we have with us Mr. Dale Rowe, who is going to come in. We're running a little late, Mr. Rowe.
Yes,
and right after Mr. McCLEAN, then you're going to come in. And I know you would, anytime we have the education session, I want you to be in on that, because I was thinking about you all the time as she was speaking this evening. And to see what the youth program, the youth skills program. I said that right? Did I say that? Youth skills?
Youth service.
Repeat?
Youth service
program, yes. How that has helped you, which was a program that came augmented, what was happening in the secondary schools and so on. And to see how it also helped you. We're happy to have you tonight, but I'm going to let Ms. McCLEAN go first, and then we're going to.
I was going to ask you if it was related, Marcia, if you wanted to flip it. I don't mind.
No, I think no, because he's going to talk about. Mr. Moore is here to talk about some of the tourism records or the travel records, right, that we see in the newspaper. He's going to share.
Oh, I thought he was talking about your service. Oh, okay.
Yeah, some insight on that, and so.
Oh, okay. I thought you were okay. I got you.
Folks, this is going up. We're going up with this show. We're talking about cost of living right now. We're talking about those loans that some of you took to get ready for Christmas. Some people went and they take out Christmas loans. They travel, they take travel loans. They back to school, they take back to school loans. When I just came to Barbados, that's not something that was people were doing. To be honest, it was something that was kind of frowned upon. But now it is the way out, because of what we're seeing has happened, Mr. Murray, with the IMF, our situation here with the IMF induced, high cost of living that is happening inside of Barbados. And so this, I want everybody, guys, get your pen and paper ready. Ms. McCLEAN is going to talk to us about credit cards, these loans that we are taking, and give us some insights on that. Okay, so let's get ready. Go ahead, Ms. McCLEAN.
All right, thank you very much. And the first thing, I sent Dave some notes because I decided that some of what so I just tried to explain the topic, because people are fast to attack what you're saying. And one of the things that you mentioned, I looked at, you said the Bajans respond to IMF created IMF created high cost of living. And I want to just share quickly an extract from an article, because at the end of the day, when we start to talk about borrowing, I don't know if Dave got my email, but if he did, I can always
coming. Just
you can always come back to that. The important point I want to make in that extract, and it is really an abstract from a research study which looked at 81 countries and which indicated through the analysis that the IMF programs in effect often create a situation where the cost of living actually goes up. And this is the extract. I'll just read it for you quickly. It says that it's an article called The Effects of IMF Loan Conditions on Poverty in the Developing World. And it says that although the International Monetary Fund claims that poverty reduction is one of its objectives, some studies show that IMF borrower countries experience higher rates of poverty. This paper investigates the effects of IMF loan conditions on poverty using a sample of 81 developing countries from 1986 to 2016. We find that IMF loan arrangement containing structural reforms contribute to more people getting trapped in the poverty cycle, as the reforms involve deep and comprehensive changes that tend to raise unemployment, lower government revenue, increase costs of basic services, and restructure tax collection, pensions, and social security programs. Conversely, we observe that loan arrangements promoting stabilization reforms have less impact on the poor because borrower states hold more discretion over their macroeconomic targets. Further, we disaggregate structural reforms to identify the particular policies that increase poverty. Our findings are robust to different specifications and indicate how IMF loan arrangements affect poverty in the developing world. Now, the question you may ask me is, well, first of all, as I said, when I saw the caption, the topic that, how you capture the topic, I know that your detractors may want to say, why is she linking, the IMF with cost of living and quick loans and credit cards? The reality is that many people are struggling. Many people also have very bad approaches to managing their finances. And therefore, in an effort to ensure that they have a good Christmas, they can buy toys for their children, they can buy food, they can buy, furnishings and whatever else. Because we know the reality is Christmas is the time when people make significant changes or additions to their homes, replace furniture, and so on. Now, unfortunately, a lot of people do this using hire purchase, quick loans, and using their credit cards. Doing those things are well, some of them, and I will give an example of hire purchase in a minute. My concern is when you get involved in using your credit card, for example, and I would ask Marcia, Dale, or GLYNE, what do you know to be the average interest rate charged on credit cards? In other words, when you go and you use up your credit card and you max it out and you're paying, because you're paying back the money you borrowed, the principal, and you got to pay the credit card company interest as well. What do you think is the average kind of interest on a credit card?
I would say 15-20%.
Dale?
I would say at least 20%.
It's 20, yeah, it could be 20, 23%.
Yeah.
And what that means is that if you are paying, if you borrow $100 because you use a credit card, and at that rate of 23%, it means that in a year you're paying back $23 on that $100. That's almost a quarter of the amount. Almost, that's 23% is nearly, $25 and the $100 are 25 cents in the dollar. And on the flip side of that is that if you had your $100 sitting in the bank and you had, or say, money sitting in the bank, which you were going to use to help you repay that. For the same $100 for the year, you're getting less than a dollar interest, because the interest rates now are less than 1%. So what you're really saying is that when you use that, and you pay that. Now, for example, and banks will not like you for the advice I'll give you. Some people use their credit card because it's convenient. Let's say you decided that you wanted to shop early. We know that every year the merchants in Barbados complain that business is slow. And then, I listened to one merchant after Christmas saying, oh, well, people started shopping. And it irritates me no end. Everybody knows that the largest employer, which is government,
right,
they get paid on the 19th. Now, if we are living paycheck to paycheck as a public officer, how do you expect me to have a ton of money to shop? I'm gonna wait till I get paid to do that, because some people may say I'm not gonna draw my savings if they have savings. I'm not gonna borrow money. I'm not gonna max out my credit card. I'll wait till I get paid. So you're not gonna see them shopping until they get paid. So every year, don't tell me 2 weeks in advance things slow. Just shut up and wait. But they do that, and then they come back and say, oh, the year wasn't too bad and we had fully stocked and whatever. But the point I'm making here is that as you go to shop, you need to understand the consequences of your action. The other thing that you would hear people say, I don't mind using my credit card because, I only pay the minimum balance. So that is easy. So if the minimum balance on an outstanding bill of $300 or $400 was to tell you to pay $35, you would never get that paid down, because when you pay that, you are paying. First of all, you have to pay the interest that is accumulated on it, and then you pay part of the money goes to the principal. But if you pay a small sum, you might in fact only be partially paying the interest. And perhaps with more time, I can do some calculations to show people. The point I'm making is that a credit card can be useful if you use it in the way that some of us do. You use your card and you pay back in advance, so that you either attract no interest or you attract very little interest. But when you max it out, as the people like to say, and then you pay small amounts, you will find that you are ending up probably paying interest on top of interest. And at an interest rate of on average 20 to 23%, you're going to have a problem. Now, the other thing that concerns me, I've seen the introduction of some easy money or quick money kind of arrangements where people go in and the terms and conditions to get a loan appear to be easy, provided that you do a payroll deduction or whatever. You say, I will borrow this money and I will sign an instruction to my employer saying, pay back Marcia Weeks and Company, this easy loan company, X amount of money per month. Now, the ease comes with a risk to the company. So in other words, because I don't do the credit checks and I don't do all of these things, but I secure myself by asking for payroll deduction. So in other words, before you get a cent, my money is taken out, but there's still some kind of risk. I charge you extremely high interest rates. So you will find that those rates probably border, in the vicinity of a credit card, for example. So there again, it looks like it's easy because you were, the loans person didn't grill you too much. They didn't ask for too much other than a letter saying, I instruct my employers to deduct. So, so long as you have a job and you give that instruction to the employer, that money comes out first. But the interest rate is very high. The other thing that I want to touch on is hire purchase. And I took an example of an item, and I looked at an item, hire purchase, interest rates end up in the same kind of vicinity. Basically, and I pulled this from an article so people understand, is a type of credit arrangement or agreement between a buyer and a seller. And typically these are done to buy products, what we call consumer durables, a fridge, a bed, a television, cell phones. Now people buy and all kinds of things like that, 52-inch TVs. I don't know, hopefully you can get it through the door and on the wall. And so you pay, sometimes there's an initial payment, sometimes it's a straight fixed payment per week or per month, and you pay that on till it is paid down. Now, when you look at this, it sounds easy, and I'll give you an example that I pulled from an advertisement. There was you had an item which was costing $1,300, $1,399.99, and the person would be paying back $15.62 per week. Now, $15.62 per week sounds nice, huh? Which translates into about $812.24 per year.
Right, times 52.
Yes. So that's, and then when in the hire purchase agreement, in the advertisement, they told you the total credit price. Okay.
Yes.
So on an item costing $1,399.99, the total credit price is $2,029.99. So there's a difference. So there's an interest charge of $630 if my math is correct. Subtracting $2,029.99, subtracting from that the original cost of $1,399.99.
Yes.
So if you divide that by the 1562 for a year, which is $812.24, you pay back that money in 2.5 years. Okay. And when you actually calculate over 2.5 years, the interest as a percentage of the original price, it is 45%. So in other words, in 2.5 years, I paid 45% more than the original cost.
Yeah, wow.
Of paying $15. So it sounds nice. And that is...
Say that again, Miss McCLEAN. So if you're saying that in the 2 years that I paid the $15.62
per week.
Right, that I would have paid 45% more
than the original price.
So
because if you take, and people can write down the number and do the math. If you take, and this is taken from an ad, and the total credit price was $2,029.99.
Right. So everybody, guys, let's slow it down, because I think all of this, because Dave would say these things to me. I remember I ran into a situation, and Dave is not into hire purchase, and I couldn't wait, man. I couldn't wait, and he never takes things out like that. It will have to be in 2 payments or something like that, or pay, right? And I was only telling this year, I said, boy, Dave, I will never do that again. I will not do that again. So let's slow it down, because people need to slow it down, Miss McCLEAN. So everybody write down. So what is the credit
original cost? The original
cost is how much?
$1,399.99.
$1,399. Everybody, you write that yet? We're in school, people. We're in school. We're trying to help ourselves here under this motley government. The cost of living,
what they call the total credit price.
Yes.
$2,029.99.
$2,029.
So if you subtract the smaller number from the bigger number, the difference should be $630.
So okay, so folks, we are subtracting, and I know some people you understand it, but I'm breaking everything down because I want us to understand, and then I want Miss McCLEAN. I taking over your section, but I want you to give us to think of the solution. And you have another financial guy here, Dale, to think of a solution that you would give somebody who wanted to buy this item.
I'm going to give you a solution when we finish.
Right.
Okay.
So this is $13.99. That was the original price, and
you subtract that from the total credit price. So you subtract $13.99.99 from $20.29.99. And that gives you $630.
$630, right? So continue now. So that's $630.
And so in paying at the $1,562 per week or $812.24 per year, you will pay off in 2.5 years.
So wait. Okay, so let somebody thinking how Miss McCLEAN got $812 a
Okay,
year.
because what happens is that I work out that there are 52 weeks in a year, approximately, and have an extra day when we have a leap year or so. And so I multiply 52 weeks in the year by 15.62, which is what you pay weekly. Right? And when you multiply the 1562 by the 52 weeks, you come up with $812.24.
Correct. Okay.
So in the first year, you would pay back $812.24. In the second year, you pay back $812.24.
Yeah.
And then in the half year, because it's 2.5 years to get to the 2029, you would pay back $406.12, because that is a half of that. So it's first year $812.24, and that should add up. Those things should add up to $2029.99.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
So the question I ask is what does that figure mean? And what else can you do? Now, basically, what I am saying is that you are paying dearly for the convenience of paying a little, quote unquote, little sum each week. It might be, if on the other hand, as somebody said, you plan your purchases and you saved up for it, okay? Then if, for example, let's say that you had decided that this is an item I need to change, and if I were saving that $15.62 or even $30 a week, but setting aside $30 a week, not even putting it in bank, no, I don't want to put it in bank, so I can't keep it, but so, but if you were saving $30 a week, 30 by 52 weeks is 520 by 3 2 is a 6 3 5 is a 15. $30 a week for a year would have been more than the cost price. You would have saved money and had a little bit left back. You understand?
Yeah.
So just exercising it, not buying a snack box or something or the other, and setting aside that money that you would, and added it to that, you would have been able to accumulate enough money from January to December to go and buy this item. The alternative is that if you can't do that, or you don't want to plan long term and something comes up, and let's say that you had a fridge that you had for 29 years, all right, and you had fears that this fridge might come cold at Christmas, and you decided, well, I want to buy a new fridge, I don't have the money, and I don't want to go to a purchase, but I belong to a credit union. And I'm going to go to the credit union and say, look, you know what? I need to borrow $1,400. Let me just round it to $1,400 to buy this fridge, right? And you go, and the same 1562, based on the way that the credit union calculates interest on the declining balance, you would pay them and pay back this money faster and at less cost. I didn't do the actual calculations. I would have to check the rates because credit unions have rates for like housing, rates for cars, rates for consumer durables, and so on. But the point I'm making is that you would pay this money back either by saving towards it, or, as I said, in an emergency, or if a planned purchase, you look at this. So the point I'm making is that these things look easy. It looks, especially for people who have low incomes, they say, okay, I can eke out $15 or $16 a week, and it's not going to hurt me. But what they didn't realize is that, in fact, let's say that by the time you're finished, that you probably save 50% of the interest. So instead of the difference being $630, you might have paid $315 interest to the credit union. I'm just pulling a number of my hat because I don't have the rates. But I can tell you, beyond a shadow of a doubt, it would be cheaper. I know that.
Yeah.
And so let's say it was 50% cheaper. What you would then have during the same Christmas period or whatever, $315 to go to grocery.
Yeah.
And or to leave it in the credit union or whatever. So I very quickly try to say to people, apart from looking to plan your finances, you need, well, that's what I know somebody that borrowed 1,300 for one of these quick loans, and the total amount I had to pay was 18.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they were paying about 500, and 500 in relation to 13, and you can see the relationship, what percentage interest that is. So my point is that people need to think about how they're spending, and to understand that things that look attractive because they appear simple and manageable keep you in debt.
Mm-hmm.
It keep you in debt. And
Yeah.
and perhaps you don't, I don't want to tell you don't buy the new refrigerator, but you can do like me and keep a fridge for 29 years because it'll work.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, and that's the honest to goodness truth. I will share this because I've talked about me, so nobody can refute it. I moved into this house that I built 29 years ago on a Christmas Eve. And a couple of months ago, I kept saying there were some glitches I was having with my fridge. And I just had this, it wasn't a nightmare because I was awake. I call it a daymare, that this fridge would come on an anniversary like a Christmas Eve, and then I would be stuck with a fridge that wasn't working. So I just went and changed it. I didn't buy it on hire purchase, and I didn't use my credit card to do that. And if I had used a credit card, then I would make sure that I didn't run up those kind of interest charges. Somebody mentioned a debit card. A debit card really is a card tied to money that you have in a financial institution. So, for example, if you present your debit card, the company that, the vendor right away has access to money, So I think what Mar said, that is an introduction to some of what I wanted to say. And I think, as I said, because times are challenging, people are uncertain about their jobs and whatever, you need to be very careful about how you manage your money. Because there was a reference to the IMF, we know that government has talked about restructuring of state-owned enterprises. We've seen changes in employment numbers in the public service and these kinds of things. So in the case of economic uncertainty, you need, yes, you can borrow from yourself, the beauty of the credit union, that's what you're doing. I mean, and there are other benefits which you can talk about from borrowing for the credit union because, but so I think that as we face uncertainty, as I was saying, people need to better manage their money. They also, whether there was uncertainty or not, you need to also recognize that you have to think in terms of how you look to create some kind of financial cushion and ultimately to build wealth. And building wealth is not something for the wealthy alone. But I will leave that there. We have some people like Dale who understands how to manage money and how to make it work for you and how to make, I'm not telling people you don't borrow. I will end on this. Borrowing gives you a certain amount of leverage, but it is the quality and the nature of borrowing and the management of that borrowing that can make or break a person.
Yes. And I'm so happy that you've done this. I see Mr. GLYNE MURRAY still here, but I'm not sure if he's aware that his camera is off. But this is something that, again, that what we can do, Miss McCLEAN, is continue this next Sunday, because I would love to see you do this with a board, something at the back, and you.
I can do a PowerPoint.
Yes, and really break down the figures because we really want to teach our people. But our time is going, Mr. Murray. I know, Mr. Murray, you have a quick comment?
Yeah, quick comment. I just want to, Maxine, what you said is logically, rationally, statistically, arithmetically, everything makes sense. All right? But you're dealing with people and people that are emotional, behavioral. So I just, maybe next time we look at what that's part of economics called behavioral economics, where the behavior of people is factored into decision, either buying, selling, loan, or whatever. I think that's something you have to understand people that even the advertising of the loans, they take your behavior. I use psychological terms to induce you, and that is as important as the interest rate. So
Yes.
maybe we could talk
And
about that
Mr.
next time.
Murray, I wrote down the term here, behavioral economics. Is something we all did in school, but I think it
Right.
would be good to break it down because some of it, I think, I just think that some of it is just even the way that they are presenting it is wrong. Some of these loan shark institutions, but we will talk about that in another section segment. But we have
Yeah.
with us here tonight Mr. Dale Rowe, and I know we're going. It is a packed program tonight, and Mr. Dale Rowe, he sent to me, two. This was in the. This was something coming from the Barbados Labour Party. They said, "Record alert! Our Granby Adams International Airport has had its busiest day ever." I don't know if Dave is going to be able to show us that. They said 54 flights, 8,000 visitors on December 21st, 2024. And it says, congratulations and thank you to the entire teams of BTMI and GAIA. Every single member, all of you, whoever you are, and whatever you do on the teams at BTMI and GAIA, Saturday, December 21st was a record for our airport, and it was you who made it happen. You made it special and did Barbados proud. And there's a wonderful picture here of, I guess, the person in charge. I didn't see the name of the person. So go ahead. You called me on this and said, you know what, I'd like to say something on that. Go ahead, sir. Welcome, Mr. Rowe.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi.
All right. With that record-breaking alert, it's commendable. However, I think they are doing no justice to the actual people that really make it happen. Because the reason why I say that, we have the housekeepers, we have gardeners, we have the waiters, we have receptionists, we have bartenders, security officers. These persons work in the hotel sector. These persons actually engage with the guests. These persons actually, make the guests want to come back to Barbados. The tourist attraction in Barbados is the people. That is the tourist attraction. So my concern is we had a work, we broke the record. We had a lot of flights, 8,000 plus visitors, but yet still we have hotels that collecting the service charge and not giving it to the staff. One. We also have hotels that collect the service charge and yet still they receive the concessions. But why every year these hotels making major profit, but yet still we gonna lay off staff? I think that the government should put something in place to cushion that layoff. I don't think that hotel workers should be laid off. I think we should move in a direction that we stop the laying off. Short hours is a must because there are times that the hotel will be slow. So yes, give the staff the short hours, but how comes the fast food outlets don't lay off staff? That is my question to the government. The fast food outlets don't lay off staff. Staff will get short hours. The hotels, they get the duty-free concession and they will pay $18 for a bottle of vodka. 18 Barbados dollars. You would pay for a bottle of vodka, 1 liter. 1 liter have 33 ounces. 1 ounce is used to make a cocktail. 1 cocktail is sold at $35. And you pay $18 for 1 bottle. 33 ounces at $35. Anybody could calculate it. So you will sell 1 bottle and you will see the profit you're making. But yet still, we can lay off the staff every August, September. they're laying off the staff. For me, I am urging the government. The reason why I wanted to discuss this, if we're doing so good when it comes to tourism, a lot of the tourists keep coming to Barbados. Let me really empower the people that really make it happen. The ram shops, the vendors of hoistings, the taxi vendors, the snow cone vendors. These are the people that really do something for tourism, not the BTMI and the fancy marketing.
So basically, you're asking who is really benefiting. So yes, there 50K flights, 8K visitors. Who in Barbados really benefiting is what you're asking.
Yeah. I don't think the hotel workers, vendors, all these other people, these people are not really benefiting. There are hotel workers right now on the South Coast that do not get entitled to lunch. No lunch, no meal allowance.
You serious? Wow. So you're telling me the hotel industry is the modern day plantation?
Yeah, it's bad. It's very bad.
Well, hold a minute. Before you go, Mr. Murray and Ms. McCLEAN, you knew that there were hotels that workers are not getting lunch breaks in this country at this time?
No, not lunch breaks. Not
lunch breaks. They provide them lunch. That's what you mean, Dale?
Yeah.
Normally, in hospitality operations, they provide lunch, but they don't. Some don't give them. I mean, it's a fairly standard thing in the past of that I know hotels offering lunch to their staff. You know.
My understand just about the same time, a couple of days before those record numbers were announced of arrivals and things, there was an announcement in the press that the Barbados Workers Union, which represents the most of the hotel workers, had signed a new agreement with the hotels, some number of the hotels, to improve on the terms and conditions, including increase and improve lunches, time more salary, etc. So there's been an agreement just signed. If people were supposed to get the first tranche of their back paid by the 21st, etc. So there has been some movement towards correcting some of these anomalies and these inequities. Apart from that, government just passed a law a few months ago relating to the same concessions, that if it is demonstrated that hotels who get concessions are violating the terms and conditions of the agreement, of the law, that those conditions will be those concessions will be withdrawn from them. I know also, all fairness, that not all hotels belong to the BW, or some hotels do it on their own, and some people, like in other employment, break for themselves and do their own thing. But basically, the hotel, the Barbados Worker Union represents the boss, and they themselves are the watchdogs. And they have complained of that, and they've taken steps, because there was almost a strike some months ago. They sat down, worked through it. There was some objection by the hoteliers to having the threat of withdrawing their concession if they did not comply, and that was settled, and they work, so they have a new arrangement which is supposed to make things better. I don't know if it's perfect, but certainly some of those things that Dale mentioned should be on paper taken care of by this new agreement.
Wow, very, very, very interesting. Continue, Mr. Rowe. Someone here is saying, and I'm getting educated on this. Thank you, Dale, for bringing this up. And Sharon Innes is saying they're supposed to give them lunch or pay them a lunch stipend. Okay, because it's in the hospitality industry.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, I understand.
Unfortunately, that is not happening. There are hotels right now on the South Coast that do not give their staff lunch.
Really? And they're supposed to do it?
Yeah, they're supposed to do it. In addition to that, but the new legislation, that is garbage. Reason why I say that, who is going to hold the hotels accountable when it comes to the concessions? Because, example, you might own a hotel and you get a concession, but you then decide now to expand and get a restaurant. Your restaurant, different name, but is on the same hotel chain. You then have to apply for that restaurant to get the concessions. But a lot of people then, some of the hotel owners, what they are doing, they are using the concessions that they get for A hotel for B hotel.
Mm.
Okay.
So if they're supposed to get concessions for Dale Hotel only, which is the duty-free drinks and everything, they're gonna get it for Dale Hotel and MARCIA restaurant.
Mm.
So in no one that I am not seeing anybody holding the hotels and the restaurants accountable. Example, there are some restaurants that making $150,000 in food and beverage, but you then your labor costs, you end up only paying staff $10,000. Your profits is $25,000 per week, which is $100,000 a month. You're not providing the meal allowance. You're telling staff that they have to pay, they have to get 50% off if they want to eat off the menu.
But there's a labor department, you know, who is part of this whole agreement. If people have, if you don't belong to union, you can at least make application to labor department to investigate. You could complain and point out these difficulties, the inequities, the failure to comply with law to labor department. And the concessions are not, from my understanding in government, the concessions are not applied really. It's a whole process that you go through, checking and double checking. Then there are people from the hotel, from the BRA or Castle, whoever that's for the hotel sector, for the hotel Ministry of Tourism, who are supposed to follow through to inspect, to make sure that things are accomplished. So it's not just, people just don't get, not that people will not try to probe and do their own thing and break the law. But I know for sure there's a system that seeks to police the thing. And if workers are being shortchanged, the only way they will get remedial action is by complaint or come on the show and talk about it, let somebody look after it. So I'm saying that while it is not perfect and that people will always try human behavior again, try to beat the system if they can and get the most for themselves, there are avenues, I'm sure, that are available where action can be taken if reported.
Correct.
But if I remember carefully, these are some of the issues that as I'm listening, that Mr. Franklin would be speaking up and saying, you know, why is it that the Ministry of Labor isn't advocating for people who have made complaints? So apparently complaints are being made, but there is not much being done through the Ministry of Labor. That's my understanding.
Part of the problem, because of the very same IMF, the Ministry of Labor has not been able to hire new staff because that is new expenditure. IMF means hardship, you know. So they have complaints, but there are not enough people to police the system because they're not, you can't hire the staff to do justice to the complaints, etc. So they're caught in the mind, but I know that for sure.
Yeah. Over to you, Dale. Continue, Dale.
Yeah, you know, like, so basically, the reason why I wanted to bring this up, so that we can really and truly let to push better working conditions for people. You know, if we have a record-breaking alert, you know, and tourism is right now at its peak, let us then look to stop all these things that are happening. There are South Coast hotels that treating the staff really bad. These hotels, they're not unionized. So that's another issue there.
I would just like to know, you talk about, I'm just curious as to how you would deal with this problem. You talk about, you don't think she's been laid off during the slow period. You talk about short hours but not laid off. Who would pay for the wages while the persons are kept on the job when they should be laid off? Because it's a business. People have to make profit and loss. They have expenses. They have loans, etc. Who would finance? Would the taxpayers be required to pay for the money that they will get instead of being laid off? How would that be financed?
So one, they can look at the service charge, because one, the hotels don't pay all of the service charge to the employees. Two, they can look at the profits and try to put some kind of training program in place that, you know, they can at least give the employees 24 hours
Of what?
of work for a work week, as opposed to the full day off. So they could try to put different things in place. This is the hotel sector, the hoteliers.
You realize that hoteliers have loans and indebtedness. And it is, I mean, I'm sorry to say, but it is really not, it's not a charity. It's not a philanthropic. It's not a social club. They have shareholders, they have loans, they have people they have to accomplish. So it is not that straightforward. For the hotel to pay for it, I don't think that is going to run.
Yeah, but Mr. Murray, I'm thinking that if all of these subsidies, because they are of all the industries, they are. Somebody said it's almost they're on a welfare check, you know, from the government. I'm wondering. I do understand it's a business, but I mean, with the kind of treatment I've heard, Mr. Franklin speak up of these workers and so on. I'm just wondering if there can't be some kind of some system, something put in place to help to cushion. I know it's a slow season, because then I'm wondering what's the purpose of the concession. I thought the concession was to help the business, because it is a business, but the government is supporting it. So
But
what's the purpose of that?
If visitors are not here, if they're not coming, if they're not occupying the hotel, nobody benefits.
I understand that. No, I understand that, Mr. Murray. So that's what I'm saying. I thought that the reason they get such high subsidies, Mr. Murray, is because it is so seasonal and because you want to keep encouraging. No, so why are they?
It's to make Barbados competitive, to make sure that the cost to the running of the operation is at a level that can make them competitive with people around you. If they have to pay across the board for everything, it'd be much more expensive.
But
it's a
those
trade-off.
costs would include the wages employing people. You see what I mean?
The concessions are on goods and services, drinks, food, meat, etc. The other thing are taken care of by the Labor Department and the unions. The agreements that cover the operation, the personnel part is generally done by agreement and discussion, etc., between the unions, all the representatives, and the workers and the hotels, etc.
Understood. So you're saying that.
Go ahead.
You're saying that the concessions, thank you. So the concessions, you're really causing the cost, the cost of running the hotel.
Right. That's right.
So therefore, Mr. Murray, this is what I'm saying. You're not deliberately and directly, affecting, wages. But if your costs are lower because of the subsidy, one would think then, therefore, with the profits that you are making, then
you're assuming that everybody makes a profit.
Well, I mean, you are at a record alert. This is why the gentleman is bringing this issue here. You are saying that we have a record alert.
But those are arrivals in the country. They now have to go in hotels and restaurants and go to the beach and to spend money to bring it back into the economy. Because they're here, does not automatically transmit into a profit or into they still have to go through the system.
That's where the workers. Misleading. So this is misleading, and
but he said it was a BLP alert. What do you expect? Propaganda.
If I could say something here,
what do you expect?
What I find interesting about this is that they identify this as a record. But as GLYNE is indicating, does an increase in persons translate into an increase in spending? Because, and I'll tell you this, I was talking to a couple of people some included Barbadians returning from overseas, and they're complaining about the uncompetitiveness. I mean, the cost in restaurants, that the cost to the visitor is high and is increasing. So you may get a large number of people. Now, the other question, and let me finish that point, you get a large number of people, but they may be spending less time and less money. And one of the questions that I want to have answered, I mean, as Andrew said, tourists are frugal too. Tourists are also people who are feeling it like others. So if Barbados is becoming expensive, but the other thing that I want to know, to what extent are the numbers coming in, staying in Barbados? And so I presume that the numbers they refer to are people who disembark in Barbados, because
it does not include sea to air to sea travel. That was mid-play.
Okay,
it doesn't include that segment.
A British Airways flight coming in, I think, or Virgin. Some of these flights go on to countries in OECS, because since St. Vincent had opened its international airport, and I realized that the last time I came out of London, which was earlier this year, a number of passengers were not staying in Barbados. They were transiting to go on to either Grenada or St. Vincent or something. So that's another issue. So
it used to happen with Liat, didn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have numbers, but I the numbers are fine, and I say kudos. I agree with Dale that when we start to talk about this, we also have to acknowledge who are the people who contribute to making Barbados a return, an attractive return destination and so on. I also
just let me make sure my input is that some years ago I used to be public relations manager for the Barbados Board of Tourism. So I actually work in the system and have an idea how the system works. I've always kept track of it over the years in the general. So that's the only reason why I'm able to speak like this. So I follow it closely.
And that's good, Mr. Murray. But I think that what you're questioning and our discussion there, is brought out the how we are very good at propaganda, because when you see something like that, one doesn't stop and think, look at it in a deeper level as Mr. Rowe is doing. And realize that doesn't really translate much to us going, our workers here going to the groceries and the high cost of living that we're facing. And one has to look at that in relation to the number of subsidies that these hotels are getting. And while they're not directly related to wages, if you are in business and you are getting subsidy, one would assume that the profits, this is to help you to stay afloat in business, right, Ms. McCLEAN, and that you're getting a certain amount of profit, and therefore your workers will be able to share in that. So there is something there to the local person that is not making sense. And but I think the discussion is
but I think that you have to get behind the unions and the Ministry of Labor to do their job.
Correct.
Yeah, because people will try a thing. People try to beat this. So you know that's human nature again. Get behind to do their job, and therefore you try to protect as much as possible the average worker and the benefits, but suppose most of the beneficiary in the system.
Yes.
Right? Just be careful when you hear statistics coming from maybe the statistical department, the central bank, or even the Ministry of Tourism. Give them more credibility than what you put a BLP alert. It is propaganda, pure, simple political propaganda. So don't just don't treat it seriously.
Yeah,
understood. But your points are worthwhile examining and should be looked at and considered, Mr. Law. I agree with that.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mr. Rowe. You were saying.
I was saying that there are hotels that treat their staff really well. Really, really, really well. So, I would like we then to really look into these are the South Coast hotels that the staff are not being treated, to a decent standard.
Yes.
My other concern is the jobs, the expat jobs. Why we always going overseas to bring in expats from overseas to bring them here, and we still have those managers have to train those persons.
You mean in the hotel industry?
In the hotels, in the hotel sector. You know, we have more than enough talented Barbadians that went abroad but cannot get these particular positions. So that's something also then, you know, I think that we should look into.
I think if I could comment on that quickly, one of the things that has been a long-standing expectation and is supposed to be part of granting work permits is that the entities would train locals to replace these people. So, for example, if you brought in an executive chef or whatever, you know, you probably would be training others. Now, there may be some people may own the thing and may want to have a few people employed, let's say specifically, but the idea is that if where possible, people should be recruited from among, you know, the local population who are qualified to do the job, but some people just ignore that, you know. And I certainly would have had to deal with that issue when I was initially in the office of the Prime Minister and responsible for matters related to immigration. You know, where some hotels applied for these work permits of a certain number and so on, and you had to reject some of that and insist, and then identify what was supposed to be a long-standing practice. But I think that is fulfilled, you know, I in not many of the occasions, I suspect.
Yeah.
But quickly.
Yeah. You realize we're past 10 o'clock. I didn't realize.
There are some countries in the Caribbean who police that work permit system very, very, very tightly. Barbados for years has been much too lax in that regard. But on the other hand, the people say, if I'm bringing 50, 60 million US dollars to invest in a property in Barbados, I reserve the right to have a sort of key positions reserved for my people to protect my investment. But there's where the retraining comes on, etc. That is supposed to be limited. But at Barbados, and from what I understand, far too much goes on too long, and people beat themselves. That is, you have to. No system is a system is only as good as the people who operate it. It will not automatically generate itself.
But Mr. Murray, it's the same point we've been making. So why, if you're going to make such a demand to say, well, this is my business and my investment, and so why are we giving those people concessions?
But we need foreign exchange, we need investment, we need to create employment.
I understand, but then therefore we're gonna have to do more of a partnership where they don't feel that they have a handle, they're holding the handle. It seems like it comes across that we're not saying that's the way for all the hotels, which is why the policing and the accountability is important. But I think
right.
You know, but it's I think this discussion we're having, and I love the fact that you have had some of that inside experience, Mr. Murray, in terms of policy, and you've worked with
and so is Maxine too with her.
Yes. I think it's a good thing for us, Mr. Rowe, that you brought this to us tonight. And, you know, I can hear Caswell on this if he was on this program. And I think that it is something I'm begging of you to continue. I will message you, continue to research it, because everybody listens to this program. Okay. And we need to know those hotels that are not giving the workers their lunch, not giving the workers what is due them. We want to know those hotels. And all we're just saying, we're going to ask questions. We're going to put the name up and we're going to ask them, are you doing this? And I think it's very important because our taxpayers' money is being paid to them.
What might be interesting, an idea just came to me. What might be interesting might be to see if you get somebody from the Barbados Hotel and tourism source to come and explain the system and explain the do's and the don'ts and the history of it. So we have an official, and then we can go see where they go, and then we can take it from there even further.
Yeah, so we're going to work on that, okay?
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, thank you all so much, Dale. I am so glad, and this is refreshing. Good that you have brought this to our attention. This is what Mr. Franklin would have been doing. Mr. Franklin, if you're listening, we miss you. You would have been doing, and bringing the plight of the workers, to and as you said, people need to go join the unions. I think they're not joining them, which is another story, that they
Right,
feel that
right.
they're not doing anything for
Why,
them.
why?
You know,
Yeah.
so so that is really the issue there. But thank you all so much. Oh Lord, these shows are going over because we get so caught up in them. And Mr. Murray, look what my husband brought and gave me.
Oh,
What was that?
You don't believe
Sweet,
this man is trying. And let me put myself big on the screen here.
is
Look
it
at
sweet
what
bread and
this is 10
sweet bread
o'clock
and
at
ham?
night, and
Sweet
my
bread and ham
husband brought this big slice of sweetbread with
with ham.
ham.
Proper man, proper. Don't lose him. He's a proper man. Proper.
Listen, I don't think I will, because he did it for me. I will take a piece of the
A
sweetbread.
piece tonight,
Okay?
yeah.
This is a
Not at this
lot
hour
of
of the
power
day.
at night, at this hour of the night, but I will still try some.
I suspect he loves you. You have a feeling he loves you.
Oh boy, Mr. Murray, look at what you start. I said, I'm not eating late after the show. And here I see him come over with a plate of the oh Lord Dave.
All right.
Somebody say the sweetbread, Dave, is too large. It's 4 days of sweetbread. I agree.
Okay.
Guys, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Oh, I had a fantastic time tonight. I don't know
Thank
about
you.
you. And I can't wait for tomorrow night. Woo! Tomorrow night is going to be really powerful. And so we're going to ask you to join again. We continue to review. We're looking at the governance over the last year. We're looking at our social services. So we looked
Right. That's right.
tonight. Yeah, we looked tonight on education, and we looked at crime and all of that. And we're hoping that we can look at the health sector tomorrow. And we're looking at all these various areas. So it's governance, and we're looking at what's it again, Mr. Murray? It's governance, social services, and I'm missing one out of my head.
Crime. It was crime and violence too. Yeah.
Crime and violence. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Before you go.
We touched on those tonight, right? So yes, we remember Amaya, and I believe there's another fundraiser that is being held for Amaya by another group. And so we're going to, once we check it out and it's good, we're going to advertise that on the show as well. Don't forget Amaya. Continue. People have been asking for the for the bank account information. And yes, thank you, Angela, for keep reminding us about that. So we're going to keep that ever before you. All right, we're going to be on again tomorrow night. And
before you go, I had this idea when Paula-Ann was on. I had an idea and I didn't get a chance to enunciate it. As a result of our talking about CXC, as a result of our talking about University of West Indies over the football, I think this time, Maxine, and I want to bring in that we can begin to look at these regional institutions, how they operate in barriers. Are we getting value for money? And put them under the spotlight, not let them operate there remotely as though they're untouchable when they're benefiting again from concessions from Barbados. So I think we should look at all three of them over a period of time.
I agree.
Caribbean Development Bank too, all the regional institutions.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mr. Murray, you're encouraging bad eating habits.
Just a small slice.
And listen, you see him, and he is only 8 and 1, right? And look at him, and look at what our seniors, they know how to do it.
Guess what is the secret to my long life?
Yes.
Sweet bread and ham. There you go.
Oh Lord of mercy. Well, I guess Miss McCLEAN. Oh Lord, I can't listen. I put on weight this Christmas. I can't do it.
You have to start walking.
Yes, I do. I walk. I really walk and go in the garden.
Yeah. Well, that's why you go in the garden and all of that.
All
So
right,
go
folks.
ahead, Dave. Go ahead. And don't forget to Maya. And they message me for the bank account number. We've had it, I believe we had it earlier in the show, and we have it in all the other shows. Okay, so go ahead, Dave. Good night, everybody.
Good
God
night.
bless
Good
you.
night, everybody. Later.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good
Yes,
night.
good night, Dave.
Joy for Christ is born, the babe, the Son of Mary. Oh, this is Christ the Lord.
As you're listening to this, remember that our host of the Marcia Week shows on Mondays will be part of this. This is Dr. Ferdinand, and it's actually going on tonight, but it's also going to be on January 2nd, January 3rd, and January 5th. So please go out and support Dr. Ferdinand Nichols, and he will be singing away. He's an amazing singer. And he's going to be part of this at the People's Cathedral. This is a singing tree. And if you have not seen this, you really need to see it, okay? God bless you all and have a wonderful night.